We are calling the meeting to order, January 25th, right here in beautiful Modesto. Thank you all so much for coming. I just took a picture of this beautiful crowd. We appreciate you all. And with that, I will turn it over to Douglas for roll call.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to start off with a message from the building. There is not supposed to be any food or drinks in this room. If you have some, would you please dispose of it as quickly as possible? We'd appreciate that. Thank you.
We have water.
Water is fine, yes. All right, we're going to start off with roll call. Commissioner Bradshaw.
Here.
Commissioner Cruz.
Present.
Commissioner Falcone.
Present.
Commissioner Grisby.
Present.
Vice Chair Guardino.
Present.
Commissioner Lugo.
Present.
Commissioner Liu. Commissioner Norton.
Present.
Commissioner Tavaloni. Commissioner Tavaloni, we see you're on the webinar. When you connect to the audio, please let us know. Chair Eager,
Here.
Senator Newman, Assemblymember Wilson. I believe Assemblymember Wilson will be joining us shortly.
Yes.
Madam Chair, we have a quorum.
Thank you, Douglas. We have some instructions.
Yes, we do. Welcome to day one of the January 2024 CTC meeting in Modesto. Please note that because this is a two-day meeting, you will need to use a separate link to attend the meeting tomorrow. The links can be found on the first page of the meeting agenda on our website. Please use the questions tab on the webinar if you have questions about this. The Commission's meeting agenda is located on our website at www.catc.ca.gov. All the presentations for today's meeting are also available on the Commission's meetings page of our website under the View Download Meeting Materials tab. Any document the CTC creates can be translated into any language you need. Simply email us at ctc@catc.ca.gov and we will have them returned to you as quickly as possible. American Sign Language is being provided on the webinar for this meeting. You should see the translator on your screen. Live closed captioning is also available. Please select the Show Captions tab at the bottom of your screen. There are a number of language options available there to choose from. For our presenters, if you're on the agenda to make a presentation, please do your best to be succinct. Please remember to speak at a steady pace to allow our translating service adequate time for accurate translation. If you are presenting remotely, we hope that you will turn on your camera during your presentation if you have one. To the members of the public, we welcome comments from the public as part of each item at this meeting. For those attending in person, please submit a speaker slip to the clerk at the front of the room to let us know you want to comment on an item. For those attending via Zoom, you should see the webinar control panel, likely located at the bottom of your screen. There you will find the raised hand and Q&A tabs. We encourage you to use the raised hand feature as early into the item as you can to give the system time to acknowledge you. Commission staff will let you know when it's your turn to make a comment. Alternately, you may use the Q&A tab to submit your comment. Please be sure to include the agenda item number you are commenting on. Commission staff will read the comment on your behalf. As a reminder, each registered attendee is provided a unique link and phone number to access the webinar. These should not be shared with other participants as this can create confusion for staff when calling on you to make your comments. For all of our meeting attendees, please do your best to be concise. Please make sure your comments add new information. If you agree with the comments of a previous speaker, simply make that statement. Please remember to speak at a steady pace to allow our translating service adequate time for accurate translation. Since we often have many speakers, we ask that you make your point in 2 minutes or less. If for some reason we have many speakers on a single item, we reserve the right to limit comments further as needed. Thank you for joining us today. We know that your time is valuable. We appreciate you sharing some of it with us.
Thank you, Douglas. And when Douglas said, if you want to speak to come to the clerk, that is Douglas. So please take your cards over to him. And as he said, because we have so many people here today, we're limiting comments to 2 minutes. And with that, I would like to invite Rosa de Leon Park to come up and welcome us to the region. There she is.
Oh, Brandy, there's a video for this. Did you get that?
Thank you. Didn't expect that, but I'm actually very happy to be here. I'm Rosa de Leon Park. I'm the executive director of the Stanislaus Council of Governments. I just realized, speak slow. And I just want to welcome you all. Thank you again for being here in the Valley. I really appreciate that, and we're super excited. But with that, I want to turn it over to our Chair of the Board, Javier Lopez, and the Mayor of the City of Ceres.
Great, thank you. Welcome.
Welcome, everyone. I have prepared a speech for you today. A good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Javier Lopez, and I'm the Chair of Stanislaus Council of Governments Policy Board and the Mayor of the City of Ceres. We are honored to have you here in Stanislaus County today. And weather aside, you couldn't have chosen a better time to visit. We're building climate adaptive roads to improve the state's freight system. From farm to market connections are the lifeblood of our region. And it is our duty to make sure our agricultural products get to their destination, whether it's to a downtown farmer's market or to ports to be shipped worldwide. We're building a new commuter connection to the rest of the state that relies on mass transit systems, not individual vehicles. Our residents will have cleaner and easier connections to the rest of California through our own transit and rideshare system, as well as through passenger rail with San Joaquin and ACE. We are investing in disadvantaged communities. I'll say it again. We are investing in our disadvantaged communities. We are building key safety improvement projects to our most vulnerable users in Empire. And we'll be realigning traffic to return streets towards neighborhoods in West Modesto. Building infrastructure like State Route 132 West is key to investments to promote safety and equality for all residents, for all of their transportation needs. And of course, I could tell you all about our region, but I'd like to show you. We have prepared a short video to introduce you to the Stanislaus region. Please play the video. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay, someone's gonna have to sing and dance while we're waiting.
How's everybody doing today? See, the room is packed. Our city council meetings don't get this packed. I believe it's a 4-minute video, so.
So if people are on the internet right now, if you could go off for a minute while she's trying to download that, it might help. Okay, we'll see.
Tech guy.
I'll just say this, I'll fill the time. So Executive Director Taylor here, our team, and I just want to commend them because it's in times like this that are really hard for my team, where everyone's eyes are on them and they're working as hard as they can to get things done. And they're amazing. And I just want to reiterate that how important our team is as we work through our technical challenges.
Agree.
I just want to add, the reason we were doing the videos, we didn't have an opportunity as the commissioners came to do a tour, because I know you had a very busy schedule. So we try to do the little video to kind of show you a little about our region, and that's the purpose of it.
And we
But
appreciate it.
we understand if it doesn't work.
She said it's coming.
You're doing great.
Check down Modesto download speed.
And I have taken a tour numerous times
Mhm.
and you all are doing amazing work here. So I
Thank you.
want to commend you on all that you're doing.
Here we go.
This looks good. Wow. Cool. Like that water well.
We have a bit of something for everyone.
And turn it
With
up.
our
There you go.
diverse
It's very important.
regions,
Rewind that.
array of transportation.
Yeah.
County.
Turn the volume like
Let's
this.
start over.
Welcome to Stanislaus County, stretching across the Central Valley. We have a bit of something for everyone. With our diverse region comes a diverse array of transportation needs. Stanislaus County, our 9 cities, transit providers, and the Stanislaus Council of Governments have been hard at work to build a better regional and interregional transportation system for everyone. With Measure L, our self-help measure, we are building 16 key regional projects. One priority, the North County Corridor, will improve connections to Yosemite National Park and build a resilient corridor for agricultural goods.
Being that it froze, you might have to
It
start all over
froze.
again, so allow that,
Yes.
which is normal for a video that long, so just start all over again and don't worry, just go ahead and start from the beginning. And then us YouTube experts out here, right?
Mhm.
There you go.
Welcome to Stanislaus County, stretching across the Central Valley. We have a bit of something for everyone. With our diverse region comes a diverse array of transportation needs. Stanislaus County, our 9 cities, transit providers, and the Stanislaus Council of Governments have been hard at work to build a better regional and interregional transportation system for everyone. With Measure L, our self-help measure, we are building 16 key regional projects. One priority, the North County Corridor, will improve connections to Yosemite National Park and build a resilient corridor for agricultural goods movement. Another priority project is the reconstruction of the Service Mitchell Road interchange in Ceres, California, which will enhance the local economy. Measure L and leverage federal and state funding programs are making these projects possible. This past year, we celebrated the completion of the renovated Modesto Transit Center. This historic 1915 depot was refurbished with new waiting areas, bus bays, lighting, and landscaping for a safer and more comfortable experience for all travelers while preserving a local icon. Soon, the transit center will become a key connection for multiple modes. ACE will start service in Modesto, Ceres, and Turlock. Improvements built through the state program like TIRCP will provide our region with a direct rail connection to Sacramento, the East Bay, and Silicon Valley. In the community of Empire, we are working with Caltrans to improve safety through the implementation of active transportation improvements. The Yosemite Boulevard section of SR 132 suffers from significant collisions due to heavy traffic and high speeds. There are no existing bicycle facilities and limited pedestrian facilities, making this a particularly dangerous area for those walking to nearby stores or services. Thanks to a state grant, StanCog worked with this disadvantaged community, Caltrans, and others to identify effective improvements such as a Class IV bike lane, sidewalks, and median islands. State Route 132 is one of our most important connectors for interregional freight, connecting Highway 99 and Interstate 5. SR 132 began in the early 1900s as a county road. Since then, the surrounding areas has changed, resulting in significant traffic, especially trucks, traversing through a residential neighborhood, creating safety challenges. Attempts to correct this have been many years in the making. Thanks to the investments made by the CTC, the first steps to correct the situation has been completed with Phase 1 of SR 132 West. The realignment has allowed us to build climate-resilient infrastructure that accommodates the needs of the state freight network, aligning with CAPTI goals. Future phases will include improved connections to Highway 99 to enhance good movements, and the extension westward will complete the corridor, shifting regional traffic and trucks out of the existing community along Mays Boulevard. Our work isn't done. The completion of SR 132 will return Mays Boulevard to the neighborhoods, making now the time for additional safety and active transportation improvements. We are working to make this divided neighborhood a more walkable and bikeable place, connecting schools, churches, and shopping centers. These projects are only the beginning. We look forward to continuing to work with the CTC to deliver projects that keep Stanislaus County on the move.
Thank you very much. My hopes is that if you would like to watch that video again, just go on that YouTube channel without the lag at the house. I'll end with this. Just as we talked about in that video, by working together with our regional, state, and federal partners, we know we can achieve our goals, not only in Stanislaus County, but across California. And we look forward to continue to work together to build the future. And we hope you enjoy your time here as we wish you all the best in today's meeting. God bless. Thank you.
Any public comments on item number 2?
No, we did not receive any requests for comment from any of our virtual attendees. Thank you.
We'll move on to tabs 3 and 4. We will move on to tabs 3 and 4.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Tab 3 is the approval of the minutes for the December.
We do have a,
I-
we have a public comment.
Yeah, well, I wanted to say good afternoon and thank you for having Rosa come in and open up. I want to commend our StanCog for our local StanCog here in Stanislaus for working with community organizations such as Catholic Charities, which is where I am employed. Oftentimes, many governance agencies, they always bring in consultants and they don't refer to the local knowledge that is an abundance in this community. And working in Empire, I was able to work on the community needs assessment with this awesome crew. And I just want to say that this shows how you can collaborate with stakeholders, organizations. They're already working, organizing. They know the outcomes and they know the needs of the community because they are the voice of the community. So in this situation, I want to challenge other NPOs and organizations that are in governance to include the nonprofit arena into the discovery of what the community needs and is willing to participate in. So thank you.
Thank you. Do you have any other public comment? Okay, thank you. Now we will move on to tabs 3 and 4.
Tab 3 is the approval of the minutes for the December 6th and 7th, 2023 commission meeting. Tab 4 is the commissioners' meeting for compensation. Staff recommends your approval.
Move tab 3 unless you're combining those as one motion.
Together.
Okay, let's vote on tab 3, our minutes, and tab 4, commissioners meeting for compensation together. So
So,
moved.
second the motion.
Second Bradshaw, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We will now go to tab 5, Commission Executive Director Tanisha Taylor.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to thank Rosa de Leon Park and Mayor Javier Lopez for welcoming us to Stanislaus County for our first commission meeting of 2024. As we start the new year, I'd also like to welcome our new ex officio member of the commission, Assemblymember Lori Wilson. Chair Eager and I had the pleasure of meeting with her recently to welcome her to the commission. She will be joining us later this afternoon, and we're grateful to have her experience and her perspective as chair of the Assembly Transportation Committee as part of the commission. Since the commission last met in December, our team has been busy during the first weeks of the new year, and I want to thank Paul Golashewski, our chief deputy, for stepping up while I've been dealing with a family emergency. Earlier this month, the governor submitted his proposed budget for the 2024-2025 fiscal year. This budget proposes a number of measures across the state's spending programs to address the projected $38 billion general fund shortfall. This includes a proposal to reduce the recent $1 billion augmentation to the active transportation program by $200 million. We will hear more about the proposed budget later in today's agenda, and commission staff will be monitoring the budget situation closely to understand the potential impact on our programs and ensure we are in the best possible position to continue partnering with local agencies to deliver these important projects. While we hope the state's fiscal outlook improves so that this reduction is not necessary, this proposal reinforces the need for an ongoing, consistent, and sustainable funding source for the active transportation program and projects. Yesterday, we held the first of 2 hearings on the 2024 State Transportation Improvement Program. The proposed 2024 program includes more than $1.7 billion in transit, active transportation, and highway and local road projects included in the Regional Transportation Improvement Programs and the Interregional Transportation Improvement Program developed by Caltrans. Staff is also reviewing the preliminary expenditure data provided by 539 cities and counties in the local Streets and Roads program. Our initial review shows approximately $1.2 billion in SB1 funding was expended in fiscal year 22-23, with more than 2,800 projects active or completed in that fiscal year. These funds go to critically needed projects selected based on local priorities. We will have a more formal update at the March Commission meeting. Staff has continued its outreach on the Senate Bill 671 Clean Freight Corridor Efficiency Assessment adopted by the Commission in December. Commission staff continues to collaborate with our sister state agencies and stakeholders on zero-emission medium and heavy-duty vehicle infrastructure. We're currently working with the California Public Utilities Commission to support studies on incorporating zero-emission freight in utility planning and investor-owned utilities. And staff has met multiple times with legislative staff since the assessment was submitted and continue to discuss the recommendations with interested stakeholders. We have finalized the Senate Bill 1121 Interim State and Local Transportation System Needs Assessment based on comments received on the draft assessment, and we'll be presenting it today for Commission approval. The document is the foundation for the full needs assessment that is due next January. While this interim needs assessment is not the exhaustive inventory of needs and available revenues that the full needs assessment will include, it does help us understand the considerable challenges facing our state relative to related to adequately funding our transportation system. And we've already talked a little bit about that today. I'd like to congratulate Francis Diaz-Sanchez and Laura Pennebaker on this effort, and let's keep up the good work as we move on to the full needs assessment. Also on this week's agenda, staff will be presenting the first allocations for projects awarded funding in the Local Transportation Climate Adaptation Program last month. I'm very pleased that the Commission is in a position to allocate funding this quickly after programming these projects. This speaks to the critical need for these climate adaptation projects and sends a strong message that the Commission is a reliable partner in swiftly standing up new programs and getting dollars out the door. We will also be presenting the 2024 Regional Transportation Plan Guidelines for Commission approval. This is the culmination of a process that began last year and has involved an immense amount of outreach and coordination with our regional and state agency partners, as well as community organizations and advocates. The final guidelines will help advance our shared goals around mobility, housing, and climate. Congratulations to Bridget Driller for leading this effort. Later today, we'll also hear an update from San Bernardino County Transportation Authority on the array of multimodal improvements currently underway on the I-15 corridor. We strive to be good partners. We strive to be good partners with our regional and local agencies to ensure the successful delivery of projects across the state. We appreciate SBCTA's willingness to provide additional information to our commissioners and to travel here today to share more about the work they are doing in partnership with the Riverside County Transportation Commission on the I-15 corridor. I'd like to thank everyone who is here today in the room, as well as virtually, for their participation in the discussion. This is what makes our process great. Commissioners, I have two staffing announcements I'd like to make. Justin Hall has accepted a new role as Assistant Commission Clerk. In this role, he will provide dedicated administrative support He will provide dedicated administrative support to not only the Commission, but the Road Charge and Equity Advisory Committees as well. I'm pleased to see the members of our CTC team continue to grow and take on expanded responsibilities. We're also excited for our colleague, Jose Oseguera, who retired after 33 years of service to the state of California this past December. Jose joined the team in 2015 and spent 8 years as our lead staff on environmental policy matters. We wish him well in retirement, where he will be able to spend more time with his family and pursue his passion for photography. We have a busy few months ahead. The next commission meeting will take place on March 21st and 22nd in San Jose. At that meeting, staff will bring the final guidelines for Cycle 7 of the Active Transportation Program for Commission approval, which will kick off the new cycle's call for projects. Our Active Transportation Program staff have been very busy with site visits and branch workshops in preparation for Cycle 7, and I'm proud of the multiple messages I've received from our regional partners recognizing the efforts and the importance of those efforts in our team across the state. The draft guidelines will be presented later today. In March, the Commission will also be asked to consider adoption of the 2024 State Transportation Improvement Program and the 2024 State Highway Operation and Protection Program, also known as the SHOP. Between now and then, the commission will hold its South STIP hearing in Los Angeles on February 1st and its South and North SHOP hearings on February 8th in San Bernardino and February 13th in Sacramento. These hearings will all have virtual attendance options, and we look forward to many of our stakeholders participating in these hearings. Caltrans will present the draft 2024 State Highway Operation and Protection Program tomorrow. Commission staff will also continue to hold workshops for the 2024 Senate Bill 1 programs and will hold a kickoff workshop for Cycle 2 of the Local Transportation Climate Adaptation Program. The Road Charge Technical Advisory Committee will meet in person on March 1st in Sacramento with a virtual participation option. Finally, the Interagency Equity Advisory Committee will meet in Sacramento and via webinar on February 13th. I'd like to close my remarks today by encouraging anyone who's interested to apply for the 2 open seats on the Equity Advisory Committee. As everyone here knows, the Equity Advisory Committee is at a critical stage of its development, and the work its members continue to do will provide an opportunity for our agencies to make meaningful changes in how we do business. The online application can be found on the Commission's website at catc.ca.gov. Commissioners, this concludes my report for today. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Taylor. I don't think there's anything for us to vote on there. So I will move on to tab 6. Oh, I'm sorry. Do we have any public comment on tab 5?
Yes, Chair, I would like to acknowledge one of our virtual attendees who have their hand raised at this time.
Okay.
I'd like to call on Carrie Bowen. Carrie Bowen, I see your hand raised. Oh, it has now been lowered.
She's
May have
gone.
been, yep.
Okay. I'm sure we'll hear from her later.
Okay.
We will move on to tab 6, our commissioner and ex officio reports. I would just like to start with thanking all of you who attended the hearing yesterday. It was very well attended, and certainly our commissioners appreciated you being there, and please know that you have been heard. And we look forward to the next one on February 1st in Southern California, and Commissioner Norton will be heading up that one. So please plan on attending there. Also, earlier today, the commission had a workshop to start our strategic plan. This is going to be probably a 1.5 to 2-year process to really look at where the commission is going, what our roles and responsibilities are, because we take that very seriously, what we see as the future of transportation. And so as we have additional meetings moving forward, we will certainly put that out to the community if you would like to join us in making sure that plan reaches all of the state of California. As we looked at where we want to go from here, the one thing that every single commissioner said was that we want to ensure equity for the entire state of California in transportation and everything that goes along with transportation, which includes jobs and housing. So please know that we're taking our roles very seriously as we move forward through this process. And I want to thank Director Tavares for joining us and Secretary Omashakin. And we will be working together to make sure that their plans and our plans coexist, and we do those together as we move forward, because we do want to ensure that all 3 agencies work very closely together to make sure our goals are being met as we move forward. And just very quickly, Commissioner Grisby and I did attend meetings in San Bernardino and Riverside County earlier this month. We were able to look at all of the wonderful things that they are doing there, all the innovative work that they are doing there. And we wanted to thank them for hosting us, for giving us additional information. And we look forward to doing that all over the state. So I'll speak on behalf of all of us. Please know if you would like to have us come and see all the work that you're doing, please let the staff know, and they'll make arrangements for us to get there, because it really was eye-opening to see what they're doing now and what they're going to be doing in the future. So with that, I'll turn it over to any of my other commissioners that might have a report. Yes, Commissioner Falcone.
Yes, thank you, Chair Eager. And great to see everyone. First of all, I wanted to thank Mayor Lopez and Rosa. Rosa always comes to our commission meetings and she always says, "Oh, I can't wait for you all to come to Modesto." So thank you. And as I typically do, and some of the staff I see and my commissioners, we do walk around the town, and I'm a sucker for a good downtown. And I love to see small independent businesses, and got to hang out at Lucille's. Just want to put a plug because it's their first year anniversary apparently, on H Street, and they're just a lovely little shop there. And I promised that I would mention them, but I just, love to see the vibrancy of a downtown, and it really speaks well when you see independent businesses and thriving in a downtown. So kudos to you, Mayor Lopez, and your city. Thank you for welcoming us. The second thing I wanted to share with you, as many of you probably have seen in the news, San Diego was pummeled by water over the weekend, and especially on Monday. We saw floods that we have not seen in decades, and it really exposed the fissures in our infrastructure. But I want to say, and I wanted to share that one of the most hardest hit was Southeast San Diego, the location where we held our August commission hearing, and that is Southeast San Diego, and it was very much impacted, and they are still reeling even as the water is subsiding. You see, the disproportionate impacts on these communities, and so there's lots to be done as a region to address those. But immediately, to make sure that people are housed, they have their food, they have food, they can, many lost their cars, and that they have insurance to cover the damage. It's going to be a very arduous process for folks. But I wanted to highlight the wonderful work, Director Tavares, that your crews at Caltrans, I just immediately, went into action. There was floods on the highways, and I saw them, especially off of the 5 and the 15 was heavily impacted. They were there almost immediately clearing out, the debris and making sure that, the infrastructure, the integrity of the infrastructure holds. So I wanted to, really highlight the wonderful work that your workers did after the aftermath of the storm. All of our our emergency responders and MTS, all of our trolley lines were closed, and immediately, we've got them almost 100% in operation again. So it would behoove me if I didn't mention all the great work that your folks did, and so thank you to your workers.
Absolutely. Just to add a lighter note, I was driving on the 78 that day, which is in North County of San Diego, and I was traveling south and going north. It was closed off and Caltrans was already there. And I think it hadn't stopped raining yet. They were out there, and there was a gentleman surfing down the 78, and the Caltrans workers were trying to stop him. So I know that's out of the regular norm of their job, but please tell them I watched. I was trying to take a picture really fast. They were doing a really good job getting him off his surfboard. Does anyone else have any? Yes, Commissioner Grisby.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I just want to spend some time to second what you said earlier. I see Dr. Raymond Wolf in the audience. Thank you for the time you spent with us and showing us the multimodal vision that you have in San Bernardino. Very impressive to see the rail projects and the bus rapid transit. Very impressive. And just want to thank you for supporting the working class once again and supporting job growth in the Inland Empire.
Thank you. Any other commissioners? Yes, Commissioner Bradshaw.
Yeah, so just want to thank, so I don't forget, the staff of the CTC. I try to remember to say it at every commission meeting, but without a doubt, second to none. Do more with less. And every interaction I've had with staff, their heart is in this. I don't want to come off with any negative stuff, but maybe that's not always the experience with different parts of the state. I'll stop there so I don't get in trouble. But very proud to have you backing us up and all the work you do. Same with Executive Director Taylor and commissioners. Everyone here is trying to do the right thing. The things I wanted to comment on just real quick, because I know we got a lot of business to take care of, but having so many folks, and I'm unabashed about it for myself, and I hope you take the same pride, all those folks out there in boots and hard hats and vests. You know, I'm a product of, proudly, of the working class. And I hope you feel the same way. I think in some ways, it's just an opinion, right? At the risk of getting too far into social critique, I think in some ways our great country and even our great state has tried to move away from that to brand us as something else, when in reality, all wealth, I would argue, is built by the working class. So thank you. As residents of the community of the great state of California, I want to share with you, because you don't always get a chance to see this stuff, as most of the population does not. When you look at what we've approved resource-wise on behalf of the state of California, you're up near $8 billion year to date. And I believe, without going to the agenda and wasting time, I think we're going to be almost $2 billion under approval today, if they're approved. So that's major, major resources. One of the perspectives I want to share with you today, and as we go into it, it's very important. Process is very important. Access and hearing all voices is very important. I would speak for other commissioners, but I'll be conscious not to do that. But I believe that everyone approaches this job the same way. That's very important. In addition, though, and maybe I got this still holding on from my first year as an apprentice carpenter, hey, rules and tools matter, including in bodies like this, that there are places for voices to be heard. If anything, I would say, and for all my fellow construction workers out there, spread the word that when folks can attend this, right, from their communities, do that, because this is your business going on here. But that it's important that that be preserved, protected, encouraged. We have fantastic equity program running and staff, and you'll hear more from those folks today to reach out in the community that's underserved to do a couple things that I would ask you to cheer this as well, to make sure we represent all Californians. Transportation has been weaponized in the past and has tremendous negative impacts that are still lingering for our people, if I may. Some of the most underserved in the community, whereas our collective industry and organization has an opposite approach, that we don't hold against you where you come from. We don't hold against you the color of your skin, and those that do, hey man, they best not bring it in front of this group. We want to pull up, you know. But there is that track record of transportation. We need to be conscious of that, the decisions we make, pull everyone up to the best of our ability. On the same note, there's forces outside of our control. When you look at the importance of safety on highways, and frankly, just to be blunt, the tremendous uplift economically of workers now and workers to come in our training programs, and that boost to the economy and the safety that's provided when we do smart expansion of highway, we do smart integration of projects. And since I've served on this commission, almost every project talks about multiple facets of transportation, multimodal, if you like, but that talk about how can we keyway into rail? How can we support mass transit? How can we continue to support active transit? Because no matter what anyone might think, workers definitely care for our families and the environment and that community. So we have to make sure we have a balanced approach. But there, I believe, and Brother Gardino will correct me on this, because I haven't been around on this commission as long as he has, but I believe one of the project on I-15 that'll be looked at today, I believe goes all the way back to 2018, 18 or 19. So there's been no limit on debate or critique. I want you to think about that, right? I'm not attacking any person or group personally, But to think about that robust system of review, we have to maintain that, keep it, right? And provide more access for those who don't even know what we're doing today. So I will always fight for that. But when commitments are made to communities and they've gone through every piece of the process, it's important that we fund and keep this amazing system going, but most importantly, do whatever we can to improve it at every level. Thanks.
Madam
Thank you,
Chair,
Commissioner. Yes, Commissioner Cruz and then Falcone.
through the chair, I appreciate Commissioner Bradshaw's comments, and I want to echo some sentiments shared. I also want to thank CTC as well as Caltrans for their emphasis on safety. Many of us on this body really lead with the safety issue, not just safety for daily commuters, but safety in the work zone for many of the folks out in the room today, and keeping them safe and being able to get home to their families is always something that drives us as we do our job. I also want to recognize my union brothers and sisters in the crowd who showed up from every part of the state. The beauty of looking out and seeing you is the diversity, men, women, people of color. The one thing, people knock government for a lot of different reasons, but the one thing government does right is it creates opportunities through the economy, opportunities through creating opportunities. And these are the faces of the middle class in California who want what we all want. They want a good job, you want clean water, you want clean air, and you want a better future for your children. So thank you for taking part in this process and holding government accountable, requiring transparency on how we spend your hard-earned tax dollars is also imperative. But making our state better collectively is our goal. And your commitment in being here today is a testament to the work we do. So thank you for being here.
Commissioner Falcone?
Well, I'm humbled. I don't think I can follow my brother and sister commissioners. I actually just wanted to get back on the mic just to, I'm humbled in that I was mistaken. Mayor Lopez, my apologies. Mayor of Sarah. So the challenge, I'll take up the challenge to visit your city and to check out your Main Street in downtown. My apologies, Mayor, for the mistake earlier. So, but yeah, I'm very heartened by my brother commissioners, and it's just to see all the wonderful faces here. It's going to be a very active meeting and hearing, and I look forward to the discussions that we'll have in our items. And but really, I just wanted to highlight again the mayor's comments, and my apologies again for for getting the city incorrect. But you'll just have to invite me to coffee. There you go. Thank you.
You're invited already. Yes. And
I've invited myself.
it is a lovely city. I do have to say, for 10 years, my ex-husband and I met in Sirius to exchange children. So I have fond memories. Of Sirius.
I have 3 if you want them.
Yeah, I'll take them. I'll meet you at Burger King in Sirius. Yeah.
They're in the trunk of my car right now.
GPS?
Was that an overshare?
Any other commissioners have reports? Okay, do we have any public comment?
We did not receive any requests to comment on the item. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Then I will move to tab 7, Secretary Omashakin.
Thank you, Chair Eager. Hopefully you can hear me loud and clear. Everybody can hear me?
Oh, we can.
Okay, very good. Good afternoon, commissioners, Vice Chair Gardino, Chair Eager. Appreciate the opportunity for CalSTA and of course Caltrans. I know the directors in the room to present a little bit about some of the things that are going on across the state. I want to thank Director Parks. I heard a little bit of her remarks, and Mayor Lopez as well for the welcome to our state folks in the room. Thanks for their partnership and all the work that they're doing to send transportation in the right direction from their COG. So really appreciate the partnership and what they're doing. So I'm not going to give my usual remarks today. I usually go through in length the core four, some of the things that are happening from the agency. I want to do something a little bit different, but I just want to remind people, if you could go to the first slide. I want to remind people again what the core four priorities are in the state of California as it relates to transportation, and listening to the commissioners as this meeting started. And I get a chance to briefly listen to the commissioners before this as they engaged on the strategic plan for CTC that Chair Eager mentioned. I believe your commitments are genuine and real on these core four issues. Safety has to be at the forefront of everything that we're doing, because if transportation is not safe for every potential user, there's really no point for us to be doing this work. And it has to and needs to be safe. We have to keep equity as the sort of core, the nucleus, if you will, of our work, because we know if we're not using an equitable approach, we're leaving, like we've done in the past, we're leaving so many people behind. Transportation means access to opportunity. And so we have to use an equitable approach. From a climate standpoint, it's clear we're 50% of the problem. There's no sugarcoating there. We're half of the environmental climate challenge in California, more than any other state, more than any other country in the world, by the way, as well. So we have to continue to make sure that we focus not only on this transition on zero emission, but we become as multimodal as we possibly can be in California. And I'm hearing that there are some other local partners in the room who are going to talk about their multimodal efforts. So that's really good to hear. And finally, economic prosperity. California wouldn't be the $3.6 trillion economy that it is without transportation, from ports to job opportunity, labor opportunities. Transportation is at the center of why we have this $3.6 trillion economy in the state. So if we keep these four things in mind, again, we will continue to make California the best that it can possibly be. So next slide. The four brief things that I'm going to cover, some have been touched on already, and I'll try to be brief. And if anybody has specific questions for me related to these items or any of the items, I'll be glad to answer them before the agenda continues. First of all, you saw, I'm sure some of you got a chance to see Governor Newsom's budget presentation, and he emphasized the fact that we're going to maintain our climate commitment for the state. Despite the challenging budget, I think Director Taylor mentioned a number. It's close to $38 billion in a deficit that we have for the state. Despite that fact, I can report to you or remind you that the governor, with this budget, we're still able to maintain 99% of the funding for clean infrastructure investments in the state, 99%. So despite the challenging budget season, we're able to make we're able to maintain, I should be clear, a lot of the budget commitments that we've made in recent years. The impact to transportation, roughly in total, is a little over $4.5 billion. But the majority of that money is either delays or shifts in funds. The only cut, I think was mentioned earlier, is $200 million to the ATP program. But it's important to note $1.05 billion in commitments that you commissioners have already made related to ATP. We will be able to maintain that $1.05 billion commitment to projects already, despite the $200 million cut. So In total, there'll be $3.7 billion in delays, specifically delays, not cuts, and $791 million in fund shifts as far as the impacts, again, to transportation. And again, no impacts related to the gas tax or diesel tax and things like that I've been asked about. One of the reasons why we are faring pretty well when it comes to transportation in the state is how successful we've been with IIJA, the Biden-Harris administration's signature infrastructure bill. It's only been a little over 2 years since IIJA, and we have received, I think I mentioned this pretty much at every meeting, but to date, we've received roughly $32 billion in infrastructure money across the board. So that includes broadband, that includes water and other infrastructure projects, 32 billion. Specifically for transportation, it's 24 billion in 2 years, $24 billion. Roughly, well, not roughly, but it's close to $27 billion when you account for the $3.1 billion that we received for the California high-speed rail. I want to make sure that I'm staying charged up here. Message that my iPad is running low. Give me 1 second. Hopefully you can still hear me. I gotta pop up this at my iPad was running low, so I needed to make sure that I'm still charged up. So we're faring well as it relates to infrastructure funding that we're receiving from the federal government, and we're just going to have to continue to push forward and deliver. By the way, part of the reason why we're doing very well is not just because of the sheer size of our state. We're 11.5, 12% of the United States population. It's because of the policies that you all in that room and Governor Newsom have been leaning in very hard on. That California for All, that climate commitment, all those things the federal government's focused on. That's why we're getting the money that we're getting in these programs. Next slide. Governor Newsom announced just roughly 2 weeks ago, if you're not familiar with this, all of you in the room, something that's very much connected to the work that you all are doing. It's called build.ca.gov. It's sort of a central point, a repository where you can go to find out everything that's going on related to infrastructure in the state. It covers everything, as you can see on the screen there. It covers everything from energy-related investments, transportation, broadband, water projects, environment. You can go to see what investments are happening in your community. Very much, as has been talked about already, sometimes people get jaded about government and where that money is going and what's happening. This is a website you can please check out. Let folks in your community know what the funds that are coming into the state at the state level. We're putting that money to work. We've estimated that over the next 10 years, California is going to invest $180 billion in federal and state money into in infrastructure, by far more than any other state. So this is a way to track where that money is going and see how these funds are going to be improving the quality of life in your communities. Next slide. Something else to be familiar with and aware of is the fact that, and I know a lot of folks in the room are understanding more and more what's happening in the AI space, the artificial intelligence space. People talk about ChatGPT all the time. There is a lot of concern about AI, but also a lot of excitement about the potential that it has, that it can bring to solving problems in many spaces. And so, to Governor Newsom's credit, he put out an executive order last year, and he's asked all departments to appoint an AI coordinator Marcy Caboti, our chief CIO at CalSTA. She works with many of you. She's our AI lead person. But we also, the governor also asked us to put out our RFI, request for innovation to the state. Director Tavares and his team, they've been working with GovOps, Secretary Amy Tung, to get this RFI out. It actually closes tomorrow, January 26th. And so from January 26th to March 7th, our teams will be analyzing proposals that will be coming in on these two areas that you see on the screen. Vulnerable road users. So what impact can AI potentially have on proven outcomes, safety outcomes for vulnerable road users? As many of you know, pedestrian and bicycle related fatalities represent roughly 30% of all roadway fatalities in California. So how can AI assist us in being able to create safer outcomes across the transportation network of a state? That's one thing we're looking at. Number two, traffic mobility insights. Just how to manage congestion better in a state. Is AI a potential tool that can assist us with by creating sort of digital twins of different highway networks or different highway areas in the state to look at sort of incidents response and recurring incidents or non-recurring incidents, and how we can, again, create a network that is smarter using more than 21,000 ITS tools that we have on our network in the state. So this is an area that I'm excited about. I look forward to seeing what the vendors come up with. There was a vendor meeting on, I believe it was on January 11th. More than 200 vendors, believe it or not, 200 vendors showed up to a meeting with the state to see how they can help on these two specific areas as it relates to AI and vulnerable road user safety and managing congestion or traffic mobility better. So look forward to seeing what the vendors come up with over the next 2 months. Next and final slide. I can't go a meeting. I'm glad to hear some of the commissioners, I think it may have been Commissioner Bradshaw and Commissioner Cruz probably mentioned this, but I can't go a meeting without saying anything about safety, even though I didn't want to get into the core four in detail today. I want to thank Commissioner Gardino and Chair Eager for their commitment and passion for what's been happening on PCH in Southern California. We recently went down there and had a meeting with the local partners, City of Malibu, Los Angeles, and Santa Monica, and other local leaders like the Sheriff's Office. I met with them about how to turn things around on PCH. If you've been tracking and following this, since the unfortunate tragedy that happened in October, where 4 young lives were lost, there have been several crashes. CHP in one weekend wrote 60 speeding citations on this small stretch of a corridor, 60 on just one day. So there remains an issue on PCH. You will hear from our district director, Gloria Roberts, a little bit later. And she'll provide a lot more detail on the efforts that are being taken to make PCH safer. But I've asked all of our folks across the state, including Commissioner Dury, who you see standing to my right there, and of course you see Chair Eager. I've asked everybody to make this the #1 safety priority in the state and use the safe system approach. OTS, the Office of Traffic Safety, and its director, they're also heavily involved in this effort to make PCH a much safer corridor for people walking, biking, and of course, driving along the corridor as well. So with that, I will close. I wanted to be intentionally brief this afternoon rather. I know you have a lot to cover today, And I look forward to hearing reports and outcomes from the discussions that will be held throughout the day on some important items for transportation in the state. With that, Chair Eager, if you have any questions of me, I'll be glad to take them from any of the commissioners or the audience as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary. I think we'll start with Commissioner Norton.
Yes, Secretary Omishakin, I want to thank you for your leadership on equity issues, not just in the state, but nationally. And the Justice 40 tools that are now in place have your handiwork all over them. The fact that there are new guidelines about historic underinvestment and redlining and displacement and climate, it's just really exciting that it's Justice 40 isn't just about 40% of IIJA going to underserved and disadvantaged communities. It's about forward progress on healing and empowering these communities. And I just want to thank you again for always embedding those conversations in everything you do. And it's seen with California being a leader in this, that this Justice 40 and how it's going to apply to the state of California is part of your leadership. And so I just want that to be recognized today.
Commissioner Norton, thank you for those comments. I really appreciate it. Look, it's all of us at the end of the day. We can't afford, as Californians, we can't afford to just talk the talk. We have to walk it as well. And that means our policies, the creation of an EAC that you all have done, the funding has to align with it. It's great to see, again, President Biden come in with Justice 40. But we in California, we've been talking this for a long time. So now we're walking it just as much as we're talking it. So really appreciate you saying that. But the commitment is real. So thank you.
Thank you, Secretary. Vice Chair Gardino.
Thank you, Chair Eager, and I'll be brief. Just a deep appreciation, Secretary Omishakin, Director Tavares, District 7 Director Gloria Roberts, and your entire team for the way that you have moved so quickly and appropriately on short-term, mid-term, and long-term improvements, I think totaling as many as 130 that hopefully build on each other so that we're as time efficient and cost effective as we can with taxpayer dollars for those safety improvements on the 21-mile stretch of Pacific Coast Highway. I think we're all stunned that 4,000 crashes in 10 years. That's 400 a year. That's more than one a day. 1,500 injuries. And of course, deaths as tragic as the 4 back in the fall of 4 co-eds at Pepperdine University. We can do better as a state, and you are helping to make us better in such a meaningful leadership way. And it's going to save lives. And it probably already has with those 60 speeding tickets. And if you see my freshman daughter at Pepperdine speeding, pull her over and give her a ticket because we can do better. So we're all committed to this. And I want to thank immediate past Chair Norton for the way that she's leaned in on this as well, along with Chair Eager and our entire commission and staff. And just the collaboration with Pepperdine University leaders, with the cities of Malibu and Santa Monica, with State Senator Bill Allen, State Assembly Member Jackie Irwin, the County Supervisor Horvath.
Lindsay Horvath.
Thank you, Lindsay Horvath, who I just spoke with this morning. She's so concerned about this, and we're going to do great work down there. But your emphasis on short and medium term, not solely long term, because we'll lose too many lives if we wait for solely long term. So blessings and thanks to you, Secretary Omishakin, Director Tavares, and to Gloria Roberts.
Hey, Commissioner Gardino, look, this is the least we could do. This is our responsibility. This is the bare minimum of our responsibility to take the steps that we're taking. I want to commend the director and his team for immediately identifying funds for a director's order to start some of that short-term work that you mentioned, like to get out there like ASAP. to get improvements done. So as I started off my comments for this meeting, safety is it should be like the very bare minimum, the very basic part of what we do in transportation. And if we're seeing all these challenges, we got to jump on it. So I also appreciate, by the way, you naming all the people you just named, because we can't do it alone as a state. The assembly member and the senator and local folks as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Secretary. And I know the local mayors, since we met out there, I've heard from 3 of them with their appreciation for the focus on that area. And they know that it can't happen overnight, but they certainly appreciate these steps that are being taken by Caltrans and the state and all of us to move these safety issues forward. So thank you for that. Do you have any other comments or questions for the Secretary? Do you have any public comment?
Did not receive any request to comment on the item.
All right, thank you. Then we will move to Caltrans Director Tavares.
Good afternoon, Commissioners, Chair Eager, Vice Chair Gardino, thank you. And thank you to Executive Director Rosa Parks and also to Mayor Lopez for welcoming us here to Stanislaus County, specifically Modesto. And Modesto is a part of my history as well. Early in my career, I lived here in Modesto, and it's wonderful to be back and see how things have evolved and changed, but also have stayed the same and preserved that small town or that small city welcomeness, if you will. And so I do appreciate being back here. Thank you. I do have a slide deck. Next slide, please. Thank you. Wanted to share, we've had some shifts in leadership and some changes at Caltrans, and wanted to share some retirements that occurred in December. Our District 3 Director, Amarjeet Benapal, our District 10 Director, Dennis Agar, and our District 11 Director, Gustavo Delarda. All 3 retired in December. I'm pleased to announce we have some acting district directors. Sergio Aceves will be acting as our District 3 Director in Marysville. And he comes from most recently acting as our Maintenance and Operations Deputy Director. And so we wish him well in that new role. Also want to welcome and introduce Grace Maxeo, who will be our acting District 10 Director, and District 10 encompasses Stanislaus County. So it's in this area that we are in District 10 now. And Grace comes to us previously as the Deputy District Director for Program Project Management and Asset Management, and essentially was the Chief Deputy District Director for District 10. So really pleased to see her in this role. And in District 11, yes.
Well, hometown hero.
And in District 11, Everett Townsend is our acting District 11 Director. And he also has a wide and diverse background. Most recently, he's the Chief Deputy Director for Maintenance and Operations out of San Diego and Imperial County. And so very excited with all 3 individuals to see them blossom in these new roles. And each one of them are leaders prior to these roles. And so they're going to do an amazing job moving forward. So could we give them all a round of applause? Yes. I also want to thank Kristen Kingsley, who was acting in District 2, while David Moore was acting in District 3, and Eric Mather, who was acting in District 10 prior to Grace. So thank you for your commitment to the department and for continuing to lead Caltrans in the right direction. Next slide. Wanted to talk a little bit about some of our employees, and Commissioner Falcone, you mentioned our maintenance team, which are my unsung heroes every day as well. And but I also wanted to talk a little bit about the people behind the maintenance team, and that's our division of equipment, our heavy equipment mechanics who keep the equipment running on a 24-hour basis and don't always get the recognition that they deserve. Our crews, when our maintenance crews are out there dealing with the weather, dealing with the elements, the wildfires, all of the issues that occur on the state highway network. These heavy equipment mechanics are behind the scenes, ensuring that they have the equipment and the tools they need to get the work done. Much of our equipment is so specialized and so unique that these equipment mechanics have to manufacture parts themselves. You cannot purchase the parts. And so they actually have 3D printers that they manufacture these parts and develop them, and they actually last longer than some of the OEM parts. So that's pretty impressive what they're doing as state employees. Next slide. Talking about equity, we've had a lot of discussion already so far, and I want to continue that discussion because it does have to be our core nucleus going forward, as the secretary mentioned. It has to be front and center always. And we have an equity advisory committee. They were established to achieve meaningful outcomes in transportation equity, environmental justice, and equitable economic opportunities that we've all been discussing about. In their inaugural year, the Equity Advisory Committee established a very, very strong foundation for how we uplift communities and the voices in those communities in our work. A few of the inaugural Equity Advisory Committee members are terming out, and we are actively recruiting for new EAC members. And I encourage Californians from across the state to apply for an opportunity to join this transformative committee. The application period closes midnight on Sunday, February 4th, and more information can be found on the commission's website. So we encourage everyone to apply. Also want to introduce a new product that we are working on at Caltrans. It's called the Caltrans Public Engagement System. It's currently in development. It's an online platform which will allow for public input on Caltrans plans and their projects. This program will streamline comment collection, tracking, and responses, ensuring continuity and transparency, which is so important throughout our projects, all of our projects and our plans. We hope to initially launch this on 18 pilot projects in May of this year, and have it launched across all of our thousands of projects by the spring of 2025. So I will probably be reporting on this again in May, and I look forward to this getting launched.
Great.
Next slide. Continuing on equity, also, Commissioner Falcone, you talked about independent businesses, and that's something that I am a huge supporter and advocate for myself, is small businesses, disadvantaged business enterprises, and disabled veteran business enterprises. And in the first half of the state fiscal year, Caltrans has been able to contract with or all of our contracts, 37% of the dollars awarded went to small businesses. So excited to see the work that our team at Caltrans is doing, the continued work we're doing with the Small Business Council on a statewide basis, and continuing to uplift those small businesses and provide those opportunities for them to prosper in Caltrans projects. Also wanted to share that Caltrans is working with the Federal Highway Administration, and we have our partners here today, also with the Highlands Community Charter School and the Baker Technical Institute. And we've established a heavy equipment highway operator construction academy. We've held 2 academies thus far, and we've been able to graduate up to 40 individuals. And these individuals are selected from disadvantaged communities. They come from all walks of life. And what I'm really excited about is a very large percentage are women. And so we are training the next generation in the trades to help these individuals get good paying jobs, the jobs that we are putting out on a daily basis. We're also investing in additional small businesses and with our Mentor Protege program, where we combine prime contractors with newer contractors and build those networks, provide them the Caltrans language, if you will, as far as how you bid, how you provide estimates, things of that. We're training them through that whole process, and they have a large prime contractor that guides them through the process as well and mentors them. We've taken this program from District 4 in the Bay Area. It is now going statewide to all 12 districts and putting additional contractors and people to work in that space. So excited about that as well. Next slide. In our climate work that we are doing, in October, I talked about the Federal Protect program. And in January of this year, just a few weeks ago, the Federal Highway Administration approved Caltrans's final resilience improvement plan titled the State Climate Resilience Improvement Plan, or SCRIPT. The plan is California's opportunity to reduce protect matching funds that local agencies and regional agencies going from 20% local match to 10% local match. So it will save our local agencies and our communities their local dollars so they can put that to more projects and more work in the future. So we're really pleased to have that great partnership with the Federal Highway Administration to allow us to do that. We're also continuing our public engagement, next slide, on the Caltrans System Investment Strategy, CSIS. And we've had questions from some of the commissioners over past commission meetings on CSIS. I'm excited that next month we will be releasing CSIS 2.0, which is the local PID-sponsored projects portion of CSIS. And again, that should be implemented by the end of February 2024. We will be releasing what we're calling CSIS 3.0 by June of 2024, and that is the quantitative metrics that will be used in conjunction with SB1 Cycle 4. So the Trade Corridor Enhancement Program, as well as the Solutions for Congested Corridor Program. So we're continuing to meet with stakeholders throughout the state on the language of CSIS, but also with a committed deadline of implementing this year. So next slide. So safety, this is the next three items in safety are really around complete streets and active transportation. We heard the secretary talk about safety being front and center. It has to be our number one. It has to be our priority going forward in everything that we do. And we have a Vision Zero goal of 0 fatalities by 2050. Right now, almost 12 people per day are being killed on California's roadways, and 30% are people who are walking or biking. And so these three documents, we just released a new traffic calming guidance document that will provides design guidance for roadway practitioners in cities and counties, as well as our own Caltrans engineers, utilizing 27 effective traffic calming features developed to slow speeding vehicles. And this includes road diets. This includes narrowing lanes. This includes many different features. And again, 34% of our roadway fatalities are people who are caused by people who are speeding or aggressive driving and killing, unfortunately, people who are walking and biking. Next slide. Document number 2 that we recently released was the Main Street California Guide. And this is really a layperson-friendly, photo-rich document, which allows engineering, road designers, planners to go out into communities to engage with those community organizations and individuals, provide conceptual designs on what different features could work for a specific location. And the goal is really to explain the principles of why we are a people-centered organization. And it helps us balance competing needs as well. And just about a week ago, we released our Design Information Bulletin 94, which takes everything from the Main Street, California, from the traffic calming guidance, and provides real design exceptions and processes going forward for complete streets features. It focuses again on contextual design for urban, suburban, and rural Main Street locations that are low speed. Provides greater design flexibility to cities, counties, as well as our Caltrans team, and provides convenient, comfortable, and connected complete street facilities. You'll hear more on these a little bit later in another presentation coming up on the agenda, so I don't want to go into too many details there. Next slide. My last item, I want to highlight a project in District 1 in Eureka. This is an active transportation complete streets project. It enhances pedestrian and bicycle safety along South Broadway, which is US 101 that runs right through the center of Eureka. It's their Main Street corridor. And it has been a local priority for many years. The project enhances all user safety, and members of and local interest organizations have been asked to be part of the team. They've engaged, they provided input on this project going forward. Our team has also implemented a pop-up installation for several weeks this past summer, where they were able to provide the temporary bikeways and curb extensions to allow the community and to view, but also to test ride the facility before any design is finalized. And so now the comments that were received from the pop-up event is now informing our team on the final design in tune with those community needs. And so a lot of great work we're doing across the state. Excited to be partnering with the commission on this and with CalSTA, and look forward to working together in the coming years. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Director Torres. I know we have a couple of public comment. I'm going to start with William Walker. Welcome, Chair Walker.
Hi, thank you very much. I'll be brief. We have a full house, but I want to be reflective of the full house we have. This looks like the type of engagement we want. The folks who are in this audience look like folks at rallies that I grew up going to. There was a rally earlier today. So I specifically want to say to you, Director Torres, I've been speaking with EAC members, and we spoke with the CalSTA staff at the last meeting, and we talked about how we could engage in that strategic planning process. And I want to directly invite you, since you plugged the EAC during your presentation, to talk with us both about the equity leads that have been coming into roles at the district level, and to also look at how the district offices can also play a role in equity, because as a 15-member body in one location that changes 6 times a year, it's hard for us to do the local groundwork, but there are 15 of us in 15 different cities, maybe not quite 15, but about that we could start to have those discussions at a local level so that we don't have to wait until a meeting to actually do that work. So I really appreciate your support, and Chief Deputy Keever's support as well. And thank you all.
Thank you. Well said. We have public comment online.
Yes, thank you, Chair Yeager. We do have one virtual attendee with their hand raised at this time. I'd like to call on Norbert Dahl.
Excuse me. Thank you, Madam Chairman and Commissioners. Norbert Dahl, advisor to the Albion Bridge Stewards up in Mendocino County. We would like to compliment the director on the public engagement program and would request that Caltrans publish the scope of that work, including by beginning to post all relevant documents to individual proposed projects, and engaging in full public outreach, as the previous speaker just suggested. a key point in our analysis of what Caltrans has been doing is that it is critical that the public outreach process required by the Highway Administration's manuals be implemented. Caltrans has not consistently done that. And the focus should be especially on involving the public, the stakeholders, in the early project design rather than waiting until the abbreviated public comment periods at the end of the process. We look forward to working with the director and his staff in making this truly work, both for transportation in California as well as for the interested publics, working class as well as others. Thank you. Good day.
Thank you, Mr. Dahl. Any other public comment?
I see no other request to comment on this item.
Do we have any commissioners' comments or questions for the director? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
We will now move to tab 9, Alyssa Konovo, FHWA. Oh, there she is. You also have a cheering section. Right.
Who's the guy in the white shirt that started the applause?
Some guy who used to work at Federal Highway. Good afternoon, commissioners. My name is Alyssa Konov. I am currently the acting division administrator at the FHWA California division. My personnel update is Vince has quit and retired, but keeps reappearing. It's good to have my mentor. It's good to have your mentor nearby. I will thank you for the opportunity to provide a federal program update today. I will start out with fiscal year 2024 funding. As you may have seen, federal agencies are still operating under a continuing resolution. The most recent appropriations CR has been passed through for DOT and other agencies, several other agencies, through March 1st. So we are operating under that. Caltrans has about $1.2 billion available in annual funding, formula funding under the CR, and we are staying tuned for future appropriations developments. But all of the contract authority apportionments have been provided, so there is flexibility to move forward on projects. I will also mention an update on August redistribution. We usually don't talk about that until it's a little bit warmer in the summer months, but we're getting started early this year as FHWA is anticipating another large August redistribution this coming year. The preliminary estimate at this time is $8.5 billion nationally to be redistributed amongst the states. This is in addition to the formula limitation that must be obligated by September 30th. So states have been provided this initial estimate for planning purposes only. Things could change, depends on the appropriations at the end of the day, and obligations of the allocated and discretionary grant programs. But we wanted to get started early, as I mentioned. California's estimated share of the OA is $571 million. So we are working already, have initiated conversations with Caltrans, and we'll be working closely with them and local agencies. You know, about 40% of the formula funding is allocated to local agencies. And we want to best position everyone to obligate our full share. This allows us to prevent any from obligation limitation from lapsing at the end of the year, which has never happened at Federal Highway. So we don't want to start that trend now. And it also gives an opportunity to advance projects with this additional obligation authority. So we'll stay tuned for those discussions and appreciate everyone's support as we move forward on that process. I will move to some highlights of grant awards. And so this is all funding that's in addition to the annual federal funding. Earlier this week, FHWA provided $729 million in emergency relief funding. That was overall to 34 states and DC the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico. And this is to support repairs from natural disasters and storms. California received $124 million for last year's storms and prior events. So it sort of was backing up to some prior events that had been deemed eligible for emergency relief funding. In discretionary grant awards, on January 19th, the Biden-Harris administration announced the award of nearly $150 million to 24 grant recipients in 20 states to make existing EV charging more reliable. And so this is funding is made available through FHWA EV Charger Reliability and Accessibility Accelerator Program. We're trying to come up with a long acronym on that one. And so this will be used to repair or replace existing EV charging ports. And the award includes $64 million for approximately 1,300 charging ports in California. So great award there. In addition, there was an earlier this month, the Biden-Harris administration announced $623 million in grants to help build out an EV charging network. And these are funded through another new program, $2.5 billion charging and fueling infrastructure, or CFI. That one's an easier one to remember, discretionary grant program. And California received 10 grants totaling $169 million through across a number of areas and agencies. And this is to help with construction of EV charging ports. And this program is complementary to the National Electric Vehicle Infrastructure, or NEVI formula program, to build the backbone of high-speed EV chargers along our highways. So all of these programs are working together, hopefully, to build out our EV charging network and accessibility. I wanted to highlight an awards that were announced on December 13th for the Safe Streets for All program. There was a total of $813 million for 385 projects across the nation for grants that go directly to regional, local, and tribal communities for implementation, planning, and demonstration projects driven at the local level to improve safety and help prevent deaths and serious injuries. California received 74 grants, including 7 implementation or construction grants, as well as 67 new planning grants, totaling $150 million. This brings California to the absolute highest amongst our peers of 120 Safe Streets for All grants in 2 rounds. And there is another round coming, possibly as soon as next month, for the next round applications will be open. And just today, the infra and mega discretionary grants were awarded or announced. The California received 1 mega project in Long Beach for PRB Rail, and 2 infra grants in Humboldt Bay and NCTD, North Coast Transit District, NCT, for bridge replacement, and a shared grant for I-5 truck parking information, California, Washington, and Oregon. So that will be an exciting grant there for $12 million. I will move to notices of funding opportunity that have been recently announced. In December, the NOFO for the Bridge Investment Program for the planning and bridge project grants was opened. These are for bridge projects, not the largest big projects, but the up to $100 million, and also planning grants. And this approach for the bridge funding is actually opening up FY23 through 26 funding. So applications can be accepted at any time for all of the funding years. But there will be some deadlines, kind of rolling deadlines for each fiscal year to make awards in that fiscal year. So there's a couple of application deadlines coming up for the planning on February 19th and for the bridge project for this year for March 19th. And there'll be future sort of cutoff periods for the next 2 years as well. The RAISE applications are also being accepted. This is the Rebuilding American Infrastructure with Sustainability and Equity. That's why we call it RAISE. That will be open until February 28th. And there have been a series of webinars that's available on the USDOT website. There are recordings really focusing on helping support potential applicants be successful. There was just a webinar yesterday, I believe it was, for rural and tribal applicants specifically. And so those are recorded, as I said, lots of information available on the USDOT RAISE website. I wanted to also mention a pre-notice of funding opportunity. This is even in advance of the NOFO coming out. On January 30th, FHWA is going to conduct a webinar to introduce another new discretionary grant program, the Prioritization Process Pilot Program. And this program will provide funds, it's authorized at $10 million annually, to states and MPOs serving a population over 200,000 to develop and implement a publicly accessible, transparent prioritization process for the ranking and selection of projects for inclusion in long-term transportation plans. And so there's a webinar that's open to states and MPOs at the end of the month, and the information is available. This is not how to apply. It's more of a informational Q&A session about the new program, and then there'll be a NOFO released at some time soon. And the last update I will provide, because I know you've all been waiting for the 11th edition of the Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices for Streets and Highways, the MUTCD. I knew that was really going to get the crowd going. Wow. The manual was released in December, and this is last updated in 2009. So it's been a while, and I know there are a lot of changes that have happened in our transportation system, and this update reflects the differences in travel since the last update. It also streamlines processes and makes permanent a number of applications that previously required special approval. It also includes a number of updates to improve safety for pedestrians, bicyclists, and all road users, and supports the National Roadway Safety Strategy. I know there's a lot to unpack on there, so there's been a series of informational webinars and information coming out, and we'll be working, we have 2 years to work with Caltrans to incorporate the new federal requirements into the state's version of the MUTCD, and I think that we've kicked off that process as it is. So that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. That was a lot of information. And if, in case anybody didn't already think so, it's good to be a Californian. Yeah, that was a lot of money coming our way. Yeah. Do we have any public comment?
Yes, Chair Yeager, we do have request to comment on this item. I'd like to first call on Diego Martinez.
Hi, I'm Diego Martinez. I'm in Ventura County. I'm not sure if this is part of this line item, but I'm calling to oppose the $200 million in funding going towards the widening of the I-15. We have enough freeways. Sorry.
That's not this item. We'll put you back in the queue.
Okay, thank you. Is it,
Thank you.
which item is it?
19.
That would be item 19.
19, okay, thanks.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
Yes. Next, I'd like to call on Marvin Norman.
Hello, yes, good afternoon. My name is Marvin Norman. I'm from San Bernardino resident, and Thank you for the presentation for the acting administrator. And it's a question actually I had for the whole commission. Actually, I meant to ask it for the secretary before as well. But the big question is, with all this extra money coming to the state from the feds and just also generally the budget, how do we make sure that these investments, that this money will be used to ensure that the state can meet the goals for VMT reduction? And will this money help the state meet those VMT reduction goals, or will it make it worse?
Maybe I'll take that. This is Executive Director Taylor here. The funding portfolio that we look at with all of our fund sources is a balanced approach to meet multiple state goals, including equity in the environment, reducing VMT and GHG, as well as safety and the economy. And so it's a balance as we look at all of these things, because we're also looking to maintain bridges and maintain asphalt and fix it first from our SB1 dollars that the voters approved.
Thank you. Have any other public comment?
Yes, I'd like to next call on Norbert Dahl.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioners, I actually lowered my hand. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any others?
I see no other requests to comment on this item. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any comments or questions from commissioners? Or Alyssa? Yes, Commissioner Falcone.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to congratulate Alyssa. It's great to see you there as acting. Not bad. And even though we were kind of chuckling about the manual, I'm not going to say the whole mouthful, but I appreciate how involved that process is. I'd be interested really quick on how long it took to kind of get that update going, because I know working with municipalities in updating their manuals, it takes a long time, and it takes a lot of stakeholders, and it takes a lot of, just getting on the table and just doing a lot of redlining. So if you don't mind, really quick, 14 years.
Yep, it took about 14 years. There were some sort of informal updates as things evolved. And so there would be guidance but it takes a long time to, as you said, put that together. There was a lot of stakeholder involvement in this manual as well. So that was intentionally extended some of the timeline to make sure that that was incorporated. And then, that's the acknowledgement, there's a 2-year deadline for states to actually digest and interpret, analyze all of the federal requirements, and then incorporate that into their own manuals. So
Well,
it
that's
is a
huge.
process.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Monumental. Thank you. Any other comments or questions from commissioners? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Tab 10, Regional Agencies Moderator, Rich Murphy. Hello again.
Hi again. Good afternoon. Rich Murphy, the RTPA moderator for this fiscal year. Yes, we had a business meeting this morning, and happy to report that as consumers of information, both from state and federal programs, we got a mouthful, and it comes at lightning speed. There's a lot on our plate, and everybody's plate for that matter. And truly grateful for all the hard work that goes on in terms of how this information is shared with all of us. Just a couple of quick updates in that with respect to Mr. Tavares, you shared about the SHOP program and or the Complete Streets update coming forward later this afternoon or perhaps tomorrow. We're very interested in the conversation on that and how your predecessor advanced $100 million in that program as a way to kind of kickstart it. And it's really institutionalized, we feel, with our respective districts, a nice communication method to ensure that we have partnership opportunities when we're bringing forward our own complete street concepts, either from the local agencies or conceived by the regional agencies. So that mechanism seems to be working, and look forward to hearing the update later today. Also, with respect to the CTC staff providing their draft guidance, the draft guidelines on the 2025 Active Transportation Program. We've been very involved in that. There have been more workshops than I can count on 2 hands. And for that, that's impressive with respect to outreach. And I think that the guidelines are well, represent all of the interests that have been conveyed, and it's well documented through that process. As it relates to the 2024 STIP, we had this initiated the hearings yesterday. They'll be continuing next week. I want to thank Teresa and her team, Casey, for going through the details of all of our the briefing book and how we've had to make some modifications sort of in stride. We know that that's getting wrapped up, and you'll have a very comprehensive and very accurate briefing later in March for adoption. And we do want to commend Dee Lamb and the local assistance team, and for all that they're doing in the form of innovation to kind of keep the narrative of delivery failure out of our mouths, and to really provide guidance, oversight with the office hours that they're offering all of us at both the regional and local level. So with that, I just wanted to note those issues, and Alyssa bringing forward the issue of already conversations on August redistribution. We are aware of that at the regional level. We are already engaging with Dee's team. There'll even be a training day coming up where we'll be giving some of our, there's a lot of new folks. There's a lot of staff that really don't know this whole acronym tree and all the different issues associated with project delivery. So grateful that that's a continuing flow of information, and that we're receiving it, and want you to know that. And I think lastly, if I would have brought cookies today, I probably wouldn't have brought enough. So thank you all for attending today. And if you have any questions for the regional agencies, I'd be happy to answer.
Thank you. Do we have any public comment?
We received no additional requests to comment on this item.
Thank you. Do we have any comments or questions from commissioners? All right, thank you. Rural Counties Task Force, Nafila Barrett. Nice to see you again today.
Right. Good afternoon, commissioners. Nice to see those of you that were here yesterday. Nice to see you again, and great to see all this crowd here today. I'm Nafila Barrett, Chair of the Rural Counties Task Force and Executive Director of the Mendocino Council of Governments. The Rural Counties Task Force met last Friday, January 19th. At that meeting, we discussed and received reports from Caltrans and CTC staff on a wide range of issues, including the SB 1121 Needs Assessment, the Local Streets and Roads Program, the Interagency Equity Advisory Committee, upcoming cycles of SB 1 and LTCAP, and impacts to transportation programs in the state budget, as well as measures that are being taken to try to minimize those impacts. We also received an update on the State Transportation Improvement Program. Since the last CTC meeting, the RCTF member agencies, along with other regional agencies around the state, have finalized and submitted our regional transportation improvement programs. Several rural agencies spoke yesterday at the Northern STIP hearing, and we look forward to STIP adoption next month, or 2 months from now, I guess that would be. At our meeting, we also had a presentation from and discussion with Caltrans on the California System Investment Strategy and responses to the 2 comment letters submitted by the RCTF in December. I'm starting to feel a little like a broken record because I think I talk about CSIS at every CTC meeting. We're very appreciative of the extra effort Caltrans is making to thoroughly engage stakeholders during this phase of CSIS development. We are pleased that some changes have already been proposed as a result of comments, including a shift to an incremental method of scoring for VMT change and a consistent score range across metrics. We understand that Caltrans will begin testing the quantitative metrics next month and would like to emphasize the need to test rural projects in that effort. Although we do appreciate the extra engagement and some of the changes, our CTF members still have concerns that the CSIS metrics will disproportionately disadvantage rural projects, so it will be critical to see how our projects will actually perform once metrics are applied. As always, thank you to all of the state agency staff for your time meeting with the RCTF and keeping us informed and engaged. And that concludes my report. I was briefed today, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Do you have any public comment?
We did not receive public comment for the item.
Thank you. Do you have any commissioners' comments or questions? No, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Quick acknowledgements, Feely's going to be hosting us for a town hall in Mendocino County, specifically Fort Bragg in April.
Awesome.
Yes, so we look forward to seeing you all then and talking to you more about Mendocino County.
We're going salmon fishing.
Yeah, thank you.
Next, we have tab 12, self-help counties. Keith Dunn.
Thank you, Chair and Commissioners. It's always a pleasure to be here today. It's tough going at the end of this process because a lot of things have been said, but I'd be remiss if I didn't take a moment to thank the men and women here from the construction trades. We talk a lot about safety. We do a lot of discussions in committees about safety. This is the front line, men and women in orange behind us who are actually out there doing it to not only build our infrastructure, but to uphold our communities, get our kids to school, and really commerce that takes place. So I have to start and lead with that. I'm appreciative and supportive of Commissioners Bradshaw and Cruz's comments in support of our men and women in the construction trades. They're the backbone. I also want to take a brief second and just say how important it is that we make sure that the infrastructure that we're building is actually connecting to the housing that our not only workers, but everyone in California needs. We have a crisis. We are, as self-help counties, committed to multimodal. We hear that a lot. I have a sheet that I hope all of you received that outlines the percentages on multimodal projects that we build throughout California, $6 billion annually in contribution to multimodal projects, including transit operations, ATP and others, but also road enhancements when they're important. I hear a lot about safety. Again, safety, and Mr. Cruz, Commissioner Cruz talked about that. That is a #1 issue. We have projects throughout the state that are going to be critical for the safety improvement in lives of our citizens. Highway 37 jumps to mind. There's a number of them. So I'm glad that you all get the opportunity to go out and visit these projects. You're going to hear a lot more about the safety component of these projects for our men and women that build them, for the men and women in our communities that utilize those facilities. We're going to be aggregating those projects and putting them out in a list so that we can look and see to work towards that zero fatality goal. It's not going to be done without taking action. I'm going to talk real quickly about a project in San Bernardino. It's a hydrogen train. The hydrogen train, first in the nation. I had the pleasure of being in Germany with Dr. Wolf when they went and did a little program on this. It's the first hydrogen train in America. It's going to be in operation in the fall of 2024. We're going to hear a lot about San Bernardino County, but I want you to know that San Bernardino County is delivering projects in a multimodal fashion that their community supports. You're going to hear a lot about the other project, but don't forget, they're the first in the nation hydrogen train. They're also building bike and ped paths there. It's an important project. There's lots of important projects, and we need to do all of them. We interact with the community. Executive Director Parks and the mayor that talked about interacting with Catholic healthcare. That's a great example of how the self-help counties interact with our communities to achieve a 2/3 vote to get community support for projects that not only we need, but the community supports. So I'm going to be real brief. If you have questions on the modal sheet, please talk to us. We're going to be expanding that and building it down so that we focus on safety. We're going to aggregate those projects so you can see, and hopefully we're going to track over the time the improvements that come to our workers and the men and women in our communities. So with that, I'll say thank you for the opportunity. Happy to answer any questions if you have them. If not, I'm out of here.
Thank you. Do you have any public comment?
Yes, we did receive a request to comment on this item.
Okay.
I'd like to call again on Marvin Norman.
Hi, yes, thank you. Marvin Norman again from San Bernardino. And I'm glad that this gentleman just mentioned San Bernardino County, and so forth. I live there, I'm a taxpayer there, and et cetera. One thing it's good to see, of course, that self-help counties are doing some stuff, but it would also be great to make sure that our self-help counties are not undermining our climate goals. And again, I say this as San Bernardino County resident. One thing I've come to realize after many years of advocating for bike and ped measures in the county is that in many ways the self-help county thing and that the local bud tax measure is a big roadblock to investments in other modes of transportation that aren't cars, because the self-help county formula, when they wrote the ballot measure, put almost all the money to go toward cars. And so when we try to ask for a bike path or anything else, and there's no budget for it because the self-help measure didn't have that, and we don't get the ATP grant, then we can't build the project. Meanwhile, the roads are going on. In addition to that, and hopefully the new guidelines in DIB 94 will help. But as a lot of these roads are built out that are in these self-help measures, because there are no good standards in place, we end up building the types of infrastructure that is known to be dangerous to bikes and pedestrians. I put up too many ghost bikes on myself on infrastructure that people would not have been killed on if good standards had been used from the beginning. So I hope that DIB 94 will help at least address some of these issues so that we do not keep building the types of roads that kill people, and that we can move forward. And that also that counties in the future, where they make these new measures, do not make measures that keep worsening problems. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Norman. Do we have any other public comment?
Yes, I do. Keith Dunn, thank you for the work of the Self-Help Counties Coalition, but I just heard the chair say public comment, and technically I'm not part of the public, so I'm going to stop talking now.
you.
But I will ask one.
Do we have any other
Sorry
public
about that.
comment?
Good.
Yeah. Do we have any other public comment?
No, we do not have any other requests to comment. Thank you.
Do we have any commissioner comment?
Showing my eagerness. First of all, this is great, and thank you. And the work of the self-help counties since the first self-help county in 1984 has contributed mightily and stepped in with hard-earned local taxpayer dollars, recognizing local needs with a willingness to reach into their own wallets rather than someone else to pay for it. This is incredibly helpful. It's even more helpful to me when it's the total annual contribution listed. You had mentioned 6 billion, but I couldn't tell if 6 billion was just the multimodal portion of self-help counties annually.
That's the total contribution. It's a
So
little over
6
6. And
okay.
it's sales tax, so it does track with the economy. So it's a rolling figure, but we're over 6. We have 25 counties.
Great.
Over 6 billion annually.
And those 25 counties represent more than 80% of California's population as well.
86%.
Yeah, thank you. And then what percent of all transportation funding in California does the self-help county contribution represent? It used to be about 50% or more.
You know, that also tracks somewhat with the county and the state effort. And there's many people in this room, including on this dais, that help contribute to SB1, which is the gas tax revenue. So, you know, those numbers are they change a little bit, but you know, between 40 and 50%. The gas tax SB1 effort that the state did a few years back, then defended again, has been a huge partnership. And again, I talk with the commission staff. And again, I also want to echo, this commission has the most professional staff of any that I get to work with. And I'll say here or in Washington, D.C. They're fantastic. They're quick, they're nimble, and they do more with less. So I believe Commissioner Bradshaw said that, and he couldn't be more correct. They are fantastic. That starts at the top with the executive director and goes all the way down. So thanks to that. But we're roughly 45% is what I would say. And I have to look at the numbers. The Tax and Fee Administration probably has more current, and I can get that to you. But great partners with the state. The Fed dollars have been great. We appreciate that. Those are always a rolling number. It seems like we get some, then for years we don't. And, you know, hopefully we're going to continue to see investments in infrastructure from the federal government, but you never really know. So.
And as a private citizen, having actually led and run 7 self-help county and self-help regional campaigns generating billions of dollars, when you need a 2/3 vote, if you're not building a broad-based coalition that reflects the diversity of your county or region with the improvements that reflect the desires and needs of the people in that county or region, you almost always lose. So these truly are reflective of what folks in that region want to fund with their hard-earned tax dollars, and I commend you.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Any other comments or questions?
One brief comment. Carl sort of took some of the words I was going to say about the difficulties of trying to pass these sales tax measures across the state. I want to commend Mr. Dunn and his efforts on behalf of the Self-Help County Coalition, not just on the funding level, but also his activity in Sacramento to move projects And looking at what he sent out, there's a host of projects. It's what we talked about, the all of the above approach that meet our state's long-term transportation goals. But these, obviously, this money in each county has the ability to place a measure on the ballot. And it's a broad-based stakeholder inputted process to even get them to qualify. And then it takes to 2/3 when you actually get placed. I've worked on over 20 of these measures in a previous professional life and have the scar tissue to prove it, and have lost more than I won. But having a local match generated by the self-help counties really positions counties to be successful when they want to go chase federal and state dollars. So I appreciate all the efforts, and I think folks will be looking at opportunities in the future to build out in other areas as well.
So keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Yep.
Yes, Mr. Bradshaw.
Just a couple quick comments. Some of this already been said, but I'll keep it real brief. But I want to thank Brother Dunn and what he opened with. Again, and that's been my experience working with him and his clients overall. A recognition, again, of what we talked about already, the majority of the citizens of the state of California, and a bunch of folks here in hard hats and vests, and want you to hear that. And also, Keith, raising the issue about none of this is in isolation. We got to tackle the housing challenges as well as the transportation challenges. And you've always been really great about opening those doors and helping us have a very full conversation, that it's all tied together. So on behalf of the day job hat, real quick, carpenters, but I probably can speak for all labor because Brother Joe already spoke. We want to thank you for that, because it's not words, it's action.
That's right. Thank you.
Thank you,
Commissioner
brother.
Norton?
Yes, I had just a quick question about these infographics because they're fantastic. And I was wondering if you're going to do one on jobs, because there are so many jobs that have been created from the self-help. And I also hope that you are going to list all of the projects that got elevated in going after federal dollars and others, because there was local match provided by these self-help measures. Because in event after event, they never would have gotten done without the self-help measure funding a portion and elevating them in the scoring. So I hope you also highlight that, because these are great stories to tell. You've put a lot of people to work, and we're grateful for you.
Thank you. If I knew there was going to be homework, I would have kept my mouth shut.
Yeah. March with that new
There you go.
report. Yes.
Thank you. We'll work on that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And before we get to item 13, I want to welcome Assembly Member Wilson. Yay.
Awesome.
Say anything, or
You are welcome to
Yeah,
say
for sure.
anything you want.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for letting me be a part of this. I know it has to do with the whole governor appointment and speaker, but it truly is an honor. Being recently appointed the new chair of transportation, I have been in so many meetings recently on this subject, as you can imagine, a lot wanting to meet. But I'm so thankful that I was able to make time to be able to be here today as my first opportunity as ex officio to join all of you. And I'll just say briefly, I've had the opportunity prior to coming to the assembly to serve in local government for over 12 years. And one of the things that I found that really guided every decision that I made and all future decisions now as an assembly member has been this thing called quality of life, and ensuring that I am improving folks' quality of life. I have a statement that you'll probably hear me say multiple times or seen videos where I say it multiple times, but it really is my guiding principle. And that is that everyone has a right to a high quality of life. Everyone has a right to define what that looks like for themselves. And my job is just to facilitate that. That guides every decision that I make. And you cannot have a high quality of life without the intersection of transportation. The movement of people and goods is so critical to not only our quality of life, but really the economy of our entire state. and ensuring that we have a strong transportation system, ensuring that we have great transit options and that we're focused, on infrastructure is extremely important. And so I look forward to engaging as the new chair on the assembly side of having good bills come through and good budget priorities, but also being able to be a part of the discussions here that it helps improve that for our entire state. So thank you so much for letting me be a part of this. And I look forward to good, healthy discussion and being able to help support the decisions that are made by this body and these commissioners.
We're thrilled to have you join us. Do we still have a public comment from before that I missed?
We do. It was a late request, but I do see an attendee with their hand raised that came up during this item, so
Okay.
I'd like to give them the opportunity. I'd like to call on, oh, wait.
Yes, no. And they're off.
Oh, well, one person lowered their hand, different person raised their hand. I'm going to give them the opportunity. Norbert Dahl, you are free to unmute yourself and make a comment if you wish.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Commissioners. I had lowered my hand. For some reason, the electronic system keeps raising it, but it is low. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
It's begging you to speak.
Right.
And I see no other request to comment at this time.
Okay, great, thank you. Then we will move to item 13, Sequoia. Hello.
Tab 13 features updates from the Commission and our interagency equity initiatives. On December 8th, 2023, the committee held an executive meeting in Riverside. Thank you to all those who could attend and be on the dais with us and support us virtually. It was a really meaningful space. Staff presentations at that meeting focused on looking back at 2023 accomplishments, discussing the results of our 2023 end of year advisory committee survey, and looking forward to 2024 priorities. And as was mentioned already a few times today, but I will repeat again in case anyone is tuning in right now just for our equity initiatives update. The application period for the Equity Advisory Committee is open and will close on February 4th for 2 seats, and staff will emphasize geographic representation, tribal representation, farm and agricultural worker representation, and representation of individuals with disabilities when bringing on new members for the next 2024 through 26 term. And a link to the application, again, can be found on the Commission's website. The next meeting of the committee only will be held at the Sacramento Area Council of Governments Boardroom in Sacramento on February 13th at 12:30, and that will be in person and virtual, and all are welcome to attend. I'll now turn it over to committee member Naila Pope Hardin, who is leaving the committee. Here. Here.
It's time.
Naila from
Naila, we're going to vote on this.
Yeah, right. She said, I'll help you set it up and then I'm out. Naila
Let me go,
continues to be an inspiring and dedicated leader advocating for transportation equity, and I'm proud to call her a friend. And thank you, Naila, for all your service and dedication to this committee this year.
All right. Oh, please don't do that. Okay.
I was already really emotional putting these comments together and I felt silly about it. I'm like, why am I emotional about this committee? But just for context, my role here is to just frame kind of my experience with the EAC. So I'm not here to advocate, not here to do all of that. Just want to share some of my thoughts, which again, Naila Pope Hardin, Executive Director of Climate Plan, also EAC Roundtable member turned into EAC member. In March of 2020, I spearheaded a letter that many of my colleagues wrote that asked this body for an equity advisory committee. At the time, it wasn't even on the agenda. We had to say it at the end of the meeting in public comments. Equity wasn't even on the agenda. 4 years later, here we are having a standing item on the agenda focused on equity, a committee that has members rolling off of the committee and bringing new members on. And I want to I've talked to many of you guys individually, so you know that I like to talk straight. I want to be transparent. I want to be honest. In March of 2020, folks said this committee rubber stamps things. They don't care about equity.
It's not a priority. I think Tamika Butler had just left the committee. It was like, that's a strong equity champion. They pushed her off. There were all of these rumors about what this body did. And, you know, in the 4 years I've sat next to you guys at DICE, at EAC meetings, had conversations with you guys, talked to you guys about how we're all grappling with equity. And I'm just really proud of the movement that this body, Caltrans and CalSTA, have been able to make in terms of equity. You know, it can be really hard though. Okay, hold on. Let me get back on script. Okay. You know, the tough part about doing equity work is it's so intersectional. And I see the work that you guys are doing at the EAC as really a model for what other agencies should be doing. And if I have any say, which I don't, my dream would be that all the EACs get together and we're really able to have a robust conversation across the state. We get CARB's EJAC together, we get this interagency EAC. It'll be messy, don't get me wrong, but it'll be beautiful, right? The work that you guys are doing here really does show your leadership in caring about things, your ability to be nimble, your ability to be responsive to community needs, to what communities want. You know, and you guys can't solve equity alone, just with your EAC. We need to talk about housing, and we need to talk about air quality, and we need to talk with all those other agencies. We need to talk about energy consumption. We need to talk about all of those things as well. But for the purview, for the work that you guys have ahead, you guys are charting the right course, right? We may not be there, but we have a path forward. We're laying the groundwork. I am extremely excited that Chair Walker is here next to me. We have a chair for that committee, a committee that's going to be able to move things. And okay, hold on. You know, thank you. That's what I'll say. It's just really, thank you. There's so much work ahead, right? But we have structure to be able to do it. We have an ability to bring communities of color, low-income communities, seniors, elders, folks with disabilities, tribal communities. There's a space, a dedicated space where their voices can be heard. And while not every step, that is such a big first step. And just thank you. Thank you all. I'm supposed to be introducing or bringing up Vice Chair Martha, so come on up. Thank you.
As Martha comes up, if I could just, Nyla, thank you for all that you do and will continue to do for our regions and our state. I think I'm the only one on the dais, maybe one or two others, that were here when our former colleague Tamika Butler stepped off. And just to clarify, she was in no way pushed off the committee.
Yes, I would like to.
Yeah, we were all heartbroken that we lost her voice on the commission. It was because of her day job. She felt she had conflicts that she could not continue to serve on the commission. And even though her time on the commission was short, incredibly impactful, as is every day of her life. But I wouldn't want anyone new to this to think that in any way Tamika was pushed off.
Fair.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No problem. I just wanted to make sure.
I want to recognize Chair Walker. I was here with you, and working with Naila has been a pleasure. I've known her for at least 4 years now with Climate Plan. And working in the trenches, we're given the opportunity to be able to be in these spaces, but more so the people that we represent are the people that keep us here.
Yeah.
So losing Naila, I can only hope that wherever she goes, she's going to be an asset and an attribute, because her heart is for the community and it is for the people that she serves. And it's been an honor.
All right, I'm leaving. I'm moving to the back.
Well, thank you. Bring her back. So again, my name is Martha Armas Kelly, and I live in Merced, California, but my work is here in Stanislaus. I work for Catholic Charities Environmental Justice Program. And in environmental justice, we are faced with so many issues, and transportation is no less important, as it convexes with so many parts of what my work is. And because of that work, I came to this community and learning about the disparities that many people face in this community, mainly in transportation. People are learning about the spaces and the corridors that they live in, how to connect. And today, we are actually doing a groundbreaking and I'll be leaving and I'll come back. I'll see you in a little bit, but Archway Commons over here in Carver, we're going to be doing the groundbreaking, actually a grand opening for the Archway Commons, and you can clap because people are going to be housed. And I work there in transportation, in the capacity of transportation, providing bus vouchers and teaching people about multimodal ideas in transportation and how to connect. It's not enough to put a person in affordable housing, but really where are they located? Do they have quality of life? What are those the outcomes for living in these environments and spaces? So connecting the communities in these disadvantaged homes or affordable housing units is important to let them understand that they are part of the community, and the resources sometimes are not as accessible. And we understand that transportation is an issue of access, mobility, health. There's so many different areas. But today I have the privilege of introducing to you one of my colleagues. I worked with him for the last 4 years through Tuolumne River Trust, and his job was primarily giving the narrative and pushing forth the narrative of transportation and connections with outdoor spaces such as parks and rivers, and the beautiful area that we live in the Tuolumne, along the Tuolumne River, has been part of his connections with the different people in this space of Stanislaus. And I just wanted to let you know that he is no longer with Tuolumne River Trust, but now he's moved on to Valley Improvement Projects. And today I would like to introduce to you Edgar Garibay, my friend, colleague, and also mentor, as it was new for me coming into environmental justice. So Edgar, you want to come and present?
Good afternoon. Thank you, commissioners, everyone that's here. Very happy to have you here in Modesto. Thank you for coming. I'm originally from Michoacan, Mexico, and have lived here for all my life. So I greatly appreciate all the work, and I went to school here as well. CSU Stanislaus, graduated, and worked actually in Marta's position, and then as she's already mentioned. So I want to thank everyone here today, StanCog staff that's also here today, and other local representatives in our community. Like to start with just a brief overview, and like to definitely also thank staff. Thank you, Sequoia, for allowing us to provide this space to all of you. Just going to do a brief overview of just like what we've accomplished together over the last 10 years. There's a lot of things that need to be addressed, which I think Naila and Marta have already spoken, so I won't go into that. I think across the state, we've done a lot of good work here in Stanislaus County. We still have a lot to go. Just going to provide a quick overview. Next slide of a transportation needs assessment. So this is through a CMO, or Climate Mobility Options grant, that was just received through the organization that I currently work for, Valley Improvement Project, South Modesto Business United, MLK Committee, and EV Guide. So we'll be working with the community over the next year on a transportation sort of a needs assessment, clean mobility options, and looking at it and going straight to these communities, working again with our local partners as well, local government, to look at that. And as it makes its way, it works towards essentially planning grants and then project grants, which I think is one of the things that the way that the pipeline works, right? So so that's really what we're working towards this year. And it was a really good effort with these three local nonprofits. Next slide. So here, it's a lot of verbiage, but basically over the last 10 years, a loose collaborative called the Stanislaus Sustainable Communities Coalition, or SSCC, which we're both part of. There's a lot of different organizations that are coming together with very little funding, and we meet monthly to work together on these initiatives that you look on your screen and can read, in terms of having equitable access to the civic engagement process and public processes. How do we assess agendas? and technical documents in multiple languages, which definitely will give a shout out to our local council of governments, which has Spanish agendas, as well as some technical documents that they're also starting to produce in Spanish, as well as our local government, who are also having multiple language agendas as well in Spanish. Still have a ways to go with other languages. Apologize for that. Involved in inform a variety of different community members about the different local projects that are present, and understanding how we could improve our critical infrastructure, and being at these different meetings and understanding what these are, and working with our local government to see what opportunities there may be to look at this critical infrastructure with a focus on underserved communities, low-income communities, communities of color, and some of our rural communities or unincorporated towns within the county. It's really what we're looking at as far as this coalition, which is has a close name to those of you that are familiar with the RTPSCS. Next slide. And so just a brief overview, again, not taking a whole lot of time on this, but we focus on a variety of different efforts that are either led or supported by the coalition, which is facilitating workshops or community workshops. We've been working over the last 3 years on the Modesto General Plan there's lenses specifically on the environmental justice document, and we're in the process of developing this community document on recommendations based on environmental justice concerns. And some of those are related to transportation, how those could be implemented, not only in the city's general plan, but other general plans here in Stanislaus County. So that was done through a very small grant. Actually, that was through Climate Plan, very small multi-year grant. But aside from that, like I said, a lot of the members, just like yourselves, are either volunteering their time or with very little funding. That we're able to get a lot of this done. We've also partnered with higher education institutions, as you could see, and also statewide institutions like California Walks, Safe Routes Partnership, and overall, which led to Stanislaus County Public Works Department to apply and successfully obtain. And it's actually not very far from here, a Cycle 4 in Modesto's Airport neighborhood. So that was actually just finalized within the last year. So community members are able to connect to their local parks within the community, as well as sidewalks. We still have a ways to go with a lot of our communities. That's a good start. And then programs as part of the organization that I'm now working for, and part of this collaborative, we're also looking at other programs that are available throughout the state for electric vehicles, some mention of some charging stations. So we're trying to lay down the work and work with our local government to look at a variety of different approaches and how we can collaborate together in these processes. Next slide. And so this brings me just very briefly, like I said, we're just starting this clean mobility options voucher, what's called a voucher. So it's going to be looking at a needs assessment and building community capacity, specifically on what transportation is. We use I think a lot of us use a lot of acronyms. And so working with the community across this and building capacity in the immediate area of the city of Modesto, but then largely looking at, as we expand the work in Stanislaus County, about not just the unmet transit needs, but going beyond that and going to the people at the forefront in these communities that are looking and having challenges around transportation, and what are some clean mobility options. Next slide. And so part of this is a 3-step process, as you probably already know what that looks like. Most of you are familiar with some of these processes, so I won't take too long. But basically, it's going again with the experts who are community members, speaking with them in different ways, whether it's workshops, community events, as well as having these electric vehicle demonstrations, and providing, I think we do a lot of surveys in many ways, but that's also good data that informs us of what we're able to work with and analyze a lot of the data that we have available through these grant opportunities, and then local government. I'm a big data nerd, so I really love this type of stuff. Next slide. And so we'll be looking at, again, all these different resources. We're working with EV Guide, who's working with a lot of different projects throughout the state. And so we'll be looking at a lot of these informations and adding additional information from publicly available resources, some of the things that the coalition is also supporting and actually we're starting to do a lot more work with is again with young people or youth building those opportunities to work with youth. We're definitely supportive of that work and how they could learn some of these different technical skills, ArcGIS. So that's really where we're at that forefront right now, and looking at opportunities. There are funders, including some state agencies, that are allowing the opportunity for young people to learn some of these skill sets through a stipend model. And I'll be glad to say that I was part of in my previous job of a group of young people that are learning how to make data dashboards, and they're presenting. It's about parks, but in reality, it's that intersection of that. So we're launching through the organization that I work for. Long story short, a high school committee around learning about some of these different aspects and what transportation means, and how do we make those accessible with stipends and technology as well. So they also are able to do this work with the technology. Next slide. And the next is, again, engaging the community. We're going to do this through various formats, which I've already mentioned, and we will be creating a report that we'll definitely be sharing out and working with our local government, developing a committee of community members, as well as local staff and elected officials that could be part of this process as well. Next slide. Not sure if it's, or might have been stuck. Okay, and then again, that's the report. And again, different mobility options in our communities, which I know you probably have heard throughout the state. There's definitely options that people will have, electric vehicles with the different rebates and vouchers that have had a definitely a big thing that's going to be coming to this county, and we hope to be part of that. And thank you. I believe that's the last slide, if I'm not mistaken. Just kind of like a summary of everything, and then our contact information. And greatly appreciate your time. Thank you for being here, and look forward to hearing from Sequoia.
Yeah, thanks, Edgar, for that very informative presentation. We'll now take comments and questions on the whole, everyone. So Naila, would you come back? Naila.
You got to come back.
Yeah. So if you have any questions on equity initiatives for Naila directly, or on the Valley Vision Stanislaus Steering Committee. Thank you.
Any comments? Yes, Commissioner Falcone.
Thank you, Naila. You birthed this committee, and we should impose a rule that you can't leave without bringing forth somebody to take your place.
Fair. I'll do that.
I want to thank you for for all your work in creating this. As you know, this is an update that I always look forward to the most, because it is a way that we can be really impactful and look at public policy with and not either or, right? Because typically in public policy there is, we talk about it's either this or that, but in transportation we're talking about and. We can talk about the vitality of our economy, the security of our jobs, environment, and we can talk about the well-being that Assemblymember Wilson talked about. All of these, we have such innovative thinkers in this room, and Director Tavares talked about the innovative things that his engineers and his workers come up with. There's the sky's the limit, and the EAC is such a great intersectionality between our agencies. And you're absolutely right. I've been saying this too, is that it is a shining light that should be replicated, not only up and down the state, but a model for the nation, how we do or have this really important conversation about equity. So thank you. You have personally taught me a lot when I started the commission 2.5 years ago. So I thank you for investing some time in me, and appreciate your work in helping birth this really wonderful EAC. Thank you, Naila.
Thank you. Commissioner Lugo.
Thank you, Chair Eager. Yes, thanks, Naila, so much for getting things started. I joined the commission in mid-2022, so I was absent for a lot of the groundwork, and so I was just thrilled to be able to help vote into formal existence the EAC. It's been great. I really appreciate getting to hear these presentations from local leaders. I really appreciate staff for setting that up and love all of it. And I wanted to ask Sequoia and others, what can we do to put Naila's idea into action in terms of having a space that could be open, have more open dialogue. I recognize that there are so many regulations that are in place in terms of, who can talk to who and how many people can be in a conversation, and what could we do to have a noticed, standing opportunity for EAC members to speak. I personally, as a commissioner, would love to be part of that. And the intention would be to also make it porous to community members, because, we've all seen situations where community members are having a hard time finding where they're supposed to fit into the official processes. And I really hope that there's a way that we can, in partnership with the EAC, create more of a space where things that aren't on the agenda can be talked about and connections can be made, and then they can be brought into our official process. So would just really, really love to see, supporting the creation of a space like that. And I know there's challenges to doing that, but, I'd love to be a thought partner in it.
Thanks, Commissioner Lugo. Yeah, absolutely. I think the idea of a retreat is something that we've been kind of working with for a long time, and kind of trying to find the staff capacity. But, I'm heartened that now that Member Pope Harden is not a member, she could maybe come back and moonlight as a retreat organizer with us, with all her great skill sets. So I will be reaching out for some support on that. But I agree, it will be very helpful to have a little of a less structured, open meeting. So we will work on that. Thank you.
Commissioner Norton and Commissioner Liu.
Naila, I just wanted to say, as someone who was appointed in 2019 with Tamika, we were on the same day. I want to thank you for the work you have done when we were working on CAPDI, the work you've done on all sorts of policy initiatives. I mean, there are 11 members and ex officios, and only Carl and I and Joe Tavaloni are here from that time in 2019. There has been a lot of new thinking, a lot of tankers turning, as they say, and you have provided input and guidance, and I think suggestions that have helped create the EAC, but just in every other aspect. I just want to say thank you for your patience, for your sincerity, for the ways in which you have helped these conversations go. It's been extraordinary. We went through COVID, we went through a lot of things together, and it's been just so important to have your input and to have the opportunity to share thoughts in a way that is transparent and thoughtful and really empowering and enlightening in a time when these issues are so charged. It's hard to have conversations where people can learn from each other, and you created that space. And the dinners where we have had a chance to have great conversations about where we come from and what matters, those are so, so important. And I just want to thank you for setting the tone. That was not easy. It's not been easy for you personally, but I'm just saying you set a tone that is how the EAC stands on your shoulders. And I just want to thank you for that.
Thank you.
Three things real quick. Naila, thank you for your public service. You're going to do a lot more things during your career. This has been one of the more important ones. You've done a remarkable job of getting us where we are. We appreciate it and thank you very much. The second thing is that Doug sent out a update, his weekly update a couple of weeks ago, and he let us know that Sequoia did a presentation at the Transportation Research Board conference here in January in Washington DC. That's a big deal. So I'd like to get a little information about that. But before we do, I have a request to the chair. We've got a lot of people in the audience who've been sitting here patiently for more than 3.5 hours. They probably need a restroom break. But I think we should take 18 and 19 out of order as soon as we get done with our break. And we can do 14 through 17 after we're done with those, because these people have waited very, very patiently for an awful long time. And I see it thinning out a little bit, and I don't want people to miss out on, I know they make this as a priority. So if we could do that, I would appreciate it, but I want to hear from Sequoia too. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, I was proud to be asked to support a workshop at the Transportation Research Board annual conference. And Dr. Tiara Bills from UCLA organized an interactive charrette style workshop where we supported groups of transportation professionals from throughout the country in integrating equitable practices into strategies that they were developing at like small group tables based on made up communities, but very similar to many communities in California, which I thought was kind of funny. But it was an honor to be able to represent kind of my professional perspective and connect with folks out there. So yeah, thank you for supporting my attendance at the conference.
Have any other commissioners? Yes, Commissioner Grisby.
Naila. I guess when I first moved back to California in 2020, I think that's when we first connected. And I've just been in awe of your poise and ability to deal with complex situations where, you know, we're not always represented, and to do so well, and to bring your intellect and your skills to the game. You're the best. So just want to give props to you, and thank you for all the work you've done.
Jerry.
Commissioner? Yes, Commissioner
So
Beckhoff.
I'll be brief, but I took a minute. But Naila, thank you. So I think I was a commissioner for about 3 weeks when we connected,
Yep.
right? I'll never forget it
Yeah.
because of your help, but also I don't mean to put you on the spot, maybe, but you know, your openness to look at all kinds of different issues that affect folks at every level, and I appreciate that. But the patience, and it was already said, the poise and professionalism, but you know, the honest conversations and your ability to, and hopefully I modeled some of that too, not talking about me, but you helped model for me, right? That it can get very complicated, open mind, and listen. And I tried to steal some of that from you. So, but you helped a lot. And, you know, I'm just so honored to have worked with you and proud of what you've done for us in the state and where you're going. And you got a friend here if we can help out.
Thank you. Any other commissioners? And I know we have a couple of public comments, but I also just wanted to thank you for all that you've done, not just for this commission and this committee, but for the state of California, the people here. And I know that you have your fellow committee members that are going to carry on the torch. But they do owe that to you. You know, they stand on your shoulders in order to bring your vision to the direction that we want to go in. And so I know as you leave this committee, you'll be leaving a lot behind for them to be able to carry forward. So thank you so much for everything that you've done. We do have a couple of public comments, I believe. One, yes, okay, one here, William Walker.
So don't leave. I'm not done. When I was working, I've been in transportation since I was in high school, so like a long time ago. But in 2020, I had a job doing transportation research and policy analysis, and I was told that if I didn't know Naila Popardin, Tamika Butler, Tanisha Taylor, that I wasn't really anyone. kind of hurt. I was like,
Not-
I know it's not true, but I'm proud to say I know you all. And I call you friends. Y'all look like my mama. You do too. I'm held up by these women who are mothers who have other responsibilities besides coming and being transportation champions and leaders and climate action heroes and heroines for the world. And I'm really appreciative of the road that you've paved for us to continue this crusade. Want to welcome Assemblymember Wilson to the committee, also looking like my mama. I want to congratulate you because you're in a district that looks a lot like you and me and Darnell, Vice Chair Kelly, than the representation that represented it for like nearly half or maybe ever. Ever, right? For more than 150 years. Or I'm sorry, my math is off. More than, no, my math is fine. So I just want to welcome you here, and also Senator Gonzalez, also a woman of color, and that we will continue these crusades. And I think that it'll be impactful in the discussions that are going to come up after this break, because I think that a lot of people have things to say that relate to folks who look like the folks who are standing in front of you right now. And I want to be quick. I did get the word out to a few schools about our openings, the schools that I've all been to. It's way too many to name. But like, I'll also be trying to reach out to like youth commissions and other spaces so that we can continue to fill these 2 seats with folks. There's lots of discussions about transportation, like merging transportation agencies into one, and having less state influence. In Southern California, they want more influence because of a rail line that is not running today fully. So I think that we're in a crazy time right now, and it's why it's important that we stand here. And so we're going to be working to build the ex officio spaces. I know that that's something that's come up in past meetings, but not just for the folks that normally present here, but for folks like Naila, like folks who are part of the roundtable that have that legacy. We want to figure out how to bring that in and continue this at the local level, so folks don't have to necessarily only engage at the state level, but can continue to have this discussion after today's meeting. So I'll stop so that we can break, and thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
No, we do not have any other requests to comment.
Okay. Thank you. Goya, yes, thank you so much.
Thank you. And I did want to send a shout out to Edgar for coming here. I know it's a busy schedule and agenda, but it's so important that we recognize and support EV storage, and as well as stations for charging and the many things that are to come in California. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you, Edgar. We will take a break. We'll be back at 4 o'clock, and we will take up item 18 and 19.
Yes, nice to meet you as well. I'm excited to be here.
Anybody? Commissioner Griswold? Oh, yeah. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and start then.
Yeah, fine. We're here, we're in our seats.
Okay, we're gonna go ahead and take up tab 18. I'm gonna turn it over to Matthew. We can't hear
Wow.
you.
Can you hear me now? Yes,
Yes.
now you can hear me. Thank you. All right, Chair Eager and Commissioners, tab 18 is an information item to provide a presentation outlining the managed lane network along the Interstate 15 corridor in Riverside and San Bernardino counties, multimodal projects that are being delivered along that corridor, and the importance of allocating funds for the Interstate 15 corridor auxiliary lane and express lane project. That allocation will be recommended for approval separately under tab 19, which will directly follow this item.
Thank you.
I would now like to turn it over to Executive Director Ray Wolf and Director of Planning Steve Smith with the San Bernardino County Transportation Authority.
Good afternoon, commissioners, and Ray told me to go first. So
Yay.
here I am. You know, it was about 6 weeks ago that we were in Riverside, and you know, the meeting was getting toward the end and the item was coming up, and the layout's kind of similar to, you know, what it is here. So I was standing on the left-hand side over there, taking it all in and like poised to come up and give some responses to those questions. And 3-point stance a little bit. I was ready to go, but time ran out, as we know. The vote was taken, and here we are. And at first, it was like, you know, that was kind of a bummer, but you know, we got to thinking about it. And given where we are right now, it has turned out to be a wonderful opportunity for us to tell our story as the San Bernardino County Transportation Authority. I'm the Director of Planning there. And so we greatly appreciate your making this opportunity available for us, because we got, we think, an awesome story to tell. It is multimodal, it's clean air. You're going to hear kind of the overview of the not the whole thing. I mean, there are a lot of elements, active transportation and so on, but it is an unexpected opportunity to tell our story. And so we are thankful for it. And a couple of other things. This is really an important conversation to have. You know, one of the things I appreciate about the commission and everybody in this room is there is diversity of thought, diversity of opinion. And there are a lot of different perspectives on things. We're going to talk about, of course, transit, other multimodal things. And we're also going to talk about freight, because as you will see, freight is a crucial, very important part of what we do there. And it is multimodal. Goods is part of the multimodal system. And so we're excited about doing that. We're excited about being able to share our thoughts, obviously, about I-15, but take in all the other ideas here as well. So with the first slide, we'll go to just where we're going with this presentation today. Want to first start with the project background and what the project's all about, because maybe some people don't know the content of it. Talk about the timeline, how we got here. And the regional context is critical because we operate within what we call the SCAG region, 6-county region. There's a lot going on there in terms of sustainability, housing, all equity, all the elements. And so what we're doing fits into that framework. And then finally, we'll wrap up with the multimodal and clean air initiatives. So that's kind of the roadmap. Okay. Then next slide. So here's some basic information about the project. It's about 11 miles, right? And I'm going to have a map here in a minute for orientation. It's about 11 miles from south of State Route 60 in Riverside County to Foothill Boulevard. That's the old Route 66 in San Bernardino County. It runs through one of the largest logistics hubs in the U.S. And you can, I'm sure you've experienced it, been there, you've seen what we are trying to deal with and navigate through in the logistics industry. It's got its pros and cons, but it does tie into the I-15 segment that was completed in Riverside County not that long ago. I believe it was 2021 was when that was opened up. And so we have had a fabulous collaboration between Caltrans, RCTC, and SBCTA on that project. It is part of the regional express lane, managed lane network, as you'll hear about in just another couple of minutes. But it also has a component of auxiliary lanes to address truck bottlenecks at both the I-10 and State Route 60 interchanges. Or about 22,000 trucks per day. Majority, more than half, are big trucks, 5+ axle trucks. And I've appreciated the conversations we've had today about agriculture, about construction, about all of the skilled trades and so forth that really have to do work and employ a lot of people. We conduct commerce, obviously, throughout California, and especially there in the Inland Empire. And so I know that auxiliary lanes is a hot topic. Sometimes is perceived as a bad word or bad 2 words. But I want to convey a little bit more about what we call aux lanes for short, and how critical they are for operations and safety on the part of the freight movement and the freight industry. Sometimes we don't want to touch that word anymore. We'd like to try to avoid it, but it is crucial. And the Caltrans design manual still has a lot of information about the benefits and how to do it and how to do it right. But that really leads me to the next and last bullet point there. The I-15, I-10 interchange has been ranked as the 10th most critical truck bottleneck in the US. So there's everywhere you turn, there are issues related to freight. So I'm going to deal a lot with that as we go on here. Let's go to the next slide, please. All right, just a quick note on the timeline. This project has been percolating a long time. We had some initial feasibility studies in the 2008, 2009 timeframe. And fortuitously, about the same time, SCAG at a regional level was beginning to talk about a regional express lane or managed lane. We used both terms, network. And lo and behold, 2012, thanks to the leadership of SCAG, there was a regional network put into place. There was a concept of operations prepared and so on. We got a map of that here as well. So that kind of began our adventure into the hot lane world, high occupancy toll lane world, express lanes, and so on. And the environmental process, both federal and state, was initiated about 2015. Shortly after that, we had 3 solid years of community outreach on it. There was an equity study, especially on the subject of tolls, but it was all documented in our grant application. And then we had, of course, coordination with RCTC and Caltrans on I-15 in Riverside County, so that the handshaking there was tight. And we've got our toll director, Tim Byrne, here that can talk about any of those technology, toll-related issues and questions that you might have. Environmental clearance in December 2018. And the next bullet I bring out, because I know VMT is always there. We're totally aware of the SB 743. We've even worked with our local governments to prepare them and equip them actually for their VMT analysis. If you go on our website, you'll see how that all works. But the Caltrans policy was that projects that were environmentally cleared prior to that time would not be subject to the VMT analysis that the future projects would be. And so, and because it's a CEQA process, it seemed to make sense to us. And so everyone's been kind of going with that concept and that policy. And we know that that issue is out there, but that's the history of it. And then TSEP award, thank you, commissioners, very much. We greatly appreciate it. Was awarded in December 2020. And CAPTI was being developed at that point. The draft was out in March of 2021, so that was shortly after the award, and then the final adopted in July 2021. And I think the dates are right, but feel free to correct me. You know, they're not quite. But the point I'd like to make is we were doing CAPTI type work, CAPTI work, well prior to CAPTI. We had been fully engaged in SB 743. We have done a lot of other work similar to it, as you will see, because these projects take a long time to develop, our transit projects and so forth. And that was all part of our early multimodal initiatives. So next slide, please. So this is where we have a map, and we have our remote control arrow pointer over here. And we're going to try to make sure you know what I'm talking about when we go through the map, because I think that's a really important perspective. So what we're looking at here, the red line is I-15. As I said, it goes, it's about 2 miles or so into Riverside County, south of State Route 60, and then it goes north to Foothill Boulevard. And you'll also see Interstate 10 right there, east-west. Okay, there we go. And that interchange is what I was referring to earlier. That's like a ground zero of a lot of our freight right there, because the stats are that something like roughly 50% of the interstate truck traffic that comes to and from Southern California go through that interchange. So it's no surprise that that plays a huge role. And if you ever tried to navigate through there, sometimes it doesn't really matter what time of day. You know, there's ramps that are stacked up. And I'm going to talk about that here in just a minute. But to finish the orientation, we've got Ontario International Airport just to the west of I-15. We've got on the blue lines, we've got Metrolink. The southerly one, the one on the bottom is east-west. There we go. Okay. And that is the Riverside line. And then the other one is our San Bernardino line, which is the, we think it still is the heaviest traveled Metrolink line in the entire SCAG 500-mile-plus system. So there's a lot going on right there. And then that little squiggly line that parallels I-15 is the light blue. We'll talk about that in a bit. There we go. The Metrolink station is Rancho Cucamonga, is right there where the dark blue and the light blue line meets. Okay, so that's Rancho. And then it goes down to the airport. It goes north, paralleling I-15. So that's the basic orientation. Okay. And what you can see in this photo is a lot of warehouse rooftops, right? Can't miss it. And so when you're on the ground, you know, it becomes pretty amazing to see what's been going on there for so many years. And we realize also the warehouse distribution development is controversial. You know, we are involved in trying to help that happen in the right way. It's very much clustered here along I-15 and I-10 and so forth. But the question is that I have if you don't mind my asking, you don't have to respond, but question is, where do all these trucks come from? I think you know the answer, actually, because it comes from us, right? Every time we shop, every time we hit that little button is spelled B-U-Y, buy, it generates part of a truck trip. And you multiply that by the millions and millions and millions, 330 plus million people in the US, and a lot of that freight flows through this area, not just at our I-10, I-15 crossroads, but also our rail crossroads. We are a county of crossroads. And so we have BNSF, we have Union Pacific, and the magnitude of the freight flows is just daunting. And what then ends up happening is the industry, development industry and other activities respond to the demand. We are the demand, okay? If there wasn't demand out there, you wouldn't see this in the photo. And part of my point here is that there is so much demand that, you know, we have no control over the demand. We are trying to accommodate demand in various ways. And given that it's so easy to order whatever you want, whenever we want it, and all these things, it is just converging, not just on us. I mean, there are other centers of logistics, but this is one of the biggies in the country. It is bringing levels of truck activity that with the ports and so forth, it's hard to know what else to do with, right? And in one sense, it's a sign of a thriving economy. You know, the warehouses have been full. There's been a lot of activity. There are a lot of jobs there. And one of the, in my opinion, forgotten sectors of the employment is the truck driver. So I'm going to humanize this a little bit, if I could, and talk a little bit more about the truck driver. And it wasn't that long ago that the truck drivers and the logistics workers were our heroes. Remember those days? The essential workers, as we are calling them. We were so thankful to be able to get those deliveries and everything else. But the thing is, they don't get to us, and we don't get to them the goods we need without trucks. There was a lot of discussion about, you know, how much can we transfer to rail and so forth. And we're all for that. We got rail, we got trucks, we got everything in San Bernardino. But the demand determines ultimately how those trucks get and rail systems get optimized. You know, the private sector is pretty good at that, as we know from being able to get packages like the same day now. Okay, but it takes all of this collective activity, and it's very competitive. It takes all that collective activity to make it happen. And so one of the humanizing parts of it, I don't know if any of your families have truck drivers or friends, you know, have truck drivers, but they are an amazing bunch. They put up with a lot, right? And we've got friends that have been truck drivers. And so one of the things we have to grapple with here is we've got goods and we've got people. You know, the people have some alternatives, and we try to get as many of them into non-single occupant vehicle alternatives as we can. As you well know, we got van pools, we got carpools, we got, you know, all these other alternatives. But the truck is pretty much it. You know, if you're trying to get goods, you're not going to be able to use an alternate mode. So it's critically important discussion, and I think that's part of what's being left out right now of this diverse array of issues that we all have to deal with. And so, you know, if you think of the impact on the truck driver and their families, you know, if they are going through the I-10, I-15 interchange, some of them avoid it, you know, and they all have their strategies. But it would be, I don't know, a little disingenuous for us who, you know, we got people in the field and so forth at SBCTA, but a lot of us still work in the office, and we benefit from Zoom, and we benefit from being able to do online stuff. The essential workers, the truck drivers, these guys and gals don't have that option. And so sometimes they are stuck. And it would be disingenuous, we think, not to help them out and to address the issues that come to us because of the demand that all of us collectively generate. Okay, it's not their fault. I mean, they're benefiting from jobs, but if their truck routes are inefficient, they don't make as much money. There are a lot of impacts. They're late getting home for work, whatever. Okay, all the issues that are out there. And so if we fail to address things like the I-15 and the bottleneck that is there, we think we are doing a disservice to a big sector of the economy. There, for every truck, there's a person behind it. It's going to be a while before we have totally automated trucks. And so we're affecting all of those groups and all of those families and so forth. So that's the humanizing part of it. And I think it was important to bring that out because as one of the logistics crossroads, we have a responsibility, we feel, to take care of everybody, whether it's goods or people movement or what have you. So I wanted to really dwell on that point because it's so critical. And I think that's probably enough time on that slide, actually, because when you look at the picture, you can see why we are so concerned about that particular issue. But the thing is, we are also super concerned about air quality. In fact, you know what? We work at the Santa Fe Depot. It's over 100 years old. You know, it's an awesome place to work, but it is right next to the BNSF rail yard. So you might say that we plan for freight. We can look at all the freight movements from our kitchen window. You know, the lifts of the containers from truck to rail and rail to truck and all those things. So we can do that and experience it. And I guess you might say that we literally live and breathe freight. We're right there in the middle of it. And so some people think somehow that SBCTA is not concerned about air quality. Nothing could be further from the truth on that. We are totally concerned about air quality. And some of the initiatives that we've got going really directly address that. And I would just say, commissioners, we're not just talking about it, we are doing it. We are doing it. And so that's what's important. Okay. Sorry, I don't know if I'm getting too passionate here or not. But it really is a huge issue for us. All right, so let's go to the next slide. All right, so this is the regional context. This is the SCAG Regional Express and Managed Lane Network. It was first included in the 2012 RTP-SCS, and every RTP-SCS after that. It was a big collaboration between LA Metro, Riverside, Orange County, the commissions, and SBCTA, of course, and Caltrans as well. Federal Highway walked in every now and then as well to make sure we were coordinating. And so you can see the I-15 segment right there. That's the project we're talking about. It is really at the center of a lot of that activity. That's why I talk about the crossroads, okay? But the network is so important. And if we start leaving out segments of this network, it's going to be just not addressing the continuity of trips and the ability to incentivize the HOVs, the transit in terms of trip reliability and so forth is very important that we do that. And right now we don't have any HOV lanes on I-15. And so we lack the ability to incentivize these alternate modes. And so that's why we call even this project multimodal. I know a lot of people are seeming like they're against it, but it is a multimodal project, both freight and passenger. And some of the segments even become what we call committed transportation control measures once they get far enough into the federal transportation improvement program. All right, so next slide, please. Almost, well, getting close to done. Just a few points we've already made, I think, on the regional express lane network. It actually started with State Route 91 in Orange County. Then LA Metro got into it on the 10 and the 110. And so other sections of the 405 was recently upgraded to include express toll lanes. And all of these activities have included full involvement of Caltrans and county commissions. So we're not doing all of our own individual things here. And as I just mentioned, the county on I-15 did not have HOV lanes. And so there was no way to incentivize some of these other trips and make them more reliable. Okay, next slide. All right, we're going to do the pointer again because, yeah, I know it is a little bit small, but if you can see the pointer there, you'll see, for example, I-15, where we were just talking about. Okay, that's north-south. Okay, yeah, there you go. And you will see the Metrolink lines. There's a third line that goes north-south down through Riverside and then into Orange County. The West Valley Connector is the little loop right there, and it goes down to Ontario International Airport. That was just begun construction within the last 2 months. That is under construction. That is a congested corridors project. SCCP is what I was looking for. That again, thankfully, commissioners, that you awarded for that project is like 19 miles. All electric. We have, if you look at the top part of the left-hand side there, you'll see the listing of all of our multimodal, and not all, I mean, a sampling of our multimodal and clean air initiatives. So the truck fueling and charging, we talked about the concern that we have for air quality. That's one of the examples of it. We have been working with Caltrans because they were awarded a 6-station hydrogen fueling grant through TCEP the last time around. We were also able to get some funding for 2 different stations, one in Colton, and that's near the north-south blue line, kind of goes to Colton. And then there is one of those is off the map actually to the north, but there's also one that's located now, or being located and funded in Victorville. And then just south of downtown San Bernardino, there is a Watt EV station that we are contributing to as well, again, through the award of TSEP funding. We have had initiatives with the BNSF Intermodal Yard. We have had initiatives with Ryder Truck. Now, that was back probably 10 years ago when natural gas was in vogue, at least for cleaning up the particulates and so forth. And we're beyond that now, and we're totally into zero emission of various types. You heard earlier about the zero emission train. I won't belabor that too much, but that runs. If you look on the right side of the graphic, there is the Arrow rail line. Okay, it's a 9-mile segment that runs from Redlands to downtown San Bernardino, and it connects right up in both physical alignment and timing with Metrolink. There's also a run-through train, express train, that runs through that track as well. And the ZEMU will be in service in fall 2024, as I think Keith had mentioned. We actually got that project started. The kernel of the idea was for that, hey, we've got a 9-mile segment of rail line here. Let's try something new. CalSTA was intrigued by it. One thing led to another, and we are going to be fully operational. Well, the rail line has been going now for a year and a half, but the ZEMU will be in service later this fall. And as I understand it, Caltrans has now ordered 4 of those zero emission, multiple units, and has the rights to a bunch more that could be used throughout the state. So that was a SBCTA conceived project. Again, another great example of our imagination at work. I mentioned West Valley Connector. The board is also looking at a zero emission connection between the Rancho direct connection between Rancho Cucamonga and Ontario International Airport. Active transportation. You heard our friend Marvin talk a little bit earlier. We're trying to do more all the time on active transportation. We do have a contract that has just been let for bike ped improvements at Metrolink stations all along the San Bernardino line. It's about 8.7 million investment, including our first, I believe, in the county, class 4 bike lane. That's pretty cool. And we're investing another 10.8 or so out of our carbon reduction program. On transit, you've already heard about some of these.